Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 52 of the In From Japan podcast, the podcast where we talk about the latest news on Japan-developed games and other things in relation to them. Available on YouTube and in most places podcasts can be found. Today, Jason is unfortunately recovering from wisdom teeth surgery, so go send him some love on Twitter. But subbing in for him, we have our buddy Josh from IndiePod.
What's up?
And we have our guest, Nadia Oxford. I don't know what.
Hello, happy to be here.
And we'll start with some introductions. So, first, Josh, who are you?
Who am I? That's a deep question. I am one of the co-hosts of a podcast known as IndiePod. So if you haven't heard about us, basically there's not a lot of coverage on independent developers, the smaller guys and gals. So we, meaning myself and Vaughn Hyde, decided to create a podcast that's all about indie game news. So we do weekly episodes that are all about, just the news, things that are going on, what games we've been playing, kind of similar to the structure of this one. We also have every week developer interviews. So I sit down with an indie dev, someone in the space, and talk to them a little bit about, what they're doing and what their games are like. And then just all kinds of other stuff, let's plays and whatnot. So a good time. It's pretty much who I am, because that's, my online brand.
And you started doing like video podcasts too, right?
Yeah, just started doing video, so everything's on YouTube, or you could just catch the audio version on Spotify. We also have a Patreon if you want to, really love us and give us $1 for extra episodes and Discorder roles and whatnot, good stuff. But otherwise, you could just be a plebe, as we call them, and just listen to all the stuff for free, because there's a lot of good stuff out there.
All right, and Nadia, who are you?
Who am I? I am Nadia Oxford. I am the co-host of the Axe of the Blood God RPG podcast, where we talk about RPGs, old and new, Eastern and Western. We release an episode every week, but we also recently went independent. So we are on Patreon at patreon.com/BloodGodPod, and we have a whole bunch of content related to RPGs there, like, for example, supplementary media reviews. We're currently going through the Witcher TV show episode by episode and having discussion about that. We have Pantheon of the Blood God, wherein we kind of really get into a game and examine it and really kind of get our elbow deep into it. And our recent one for that was Skies of Arcadia. And we have a Discord that's extremely active and very friendly, and you can be part of it for $1 and up. And we're still releasing the weekly podcast for free. So either way, please do listen to us and please enjoy us.
All right. Yeah, Skies of Arcadia. That's a game I really need to play at some point. Because
yeah, it's a hard one to nail down these days for obvious reasons.
I love like Sky Pirates and Space Pirates, so I'm like, that is right up my alley.
Are you into Mega Man Legends?
I haven't played that. No.
See, if you like Skies, you'd probably like Legends.
Okay. I'll definitely keep that in mind. So next we're just going to talk about some of the Japanese games we've been playing, and I'll let Josh go first, or Japan-inspired in some cases.
I know, yeah, this is definitely a Japan-inspired one. So,
like I said, I talked about Genshin Impact on this podcast, and I'm like, yes, it was developed in China, but it was on the cover of Famitsu. I can't come on.
It counts.
Yeah.
It counts.
So mine are both indie games. I would be remiss if I didn't bring indie games on here. The first one is Omori. If you don't know anything about Omori, it's a RPG maker made game, but it's been in development for like 7 years or so. Really kind of just beloved creator Omacat, who creates just this awesome and very weird art style. But the actual game itself is this really interesting, it's this surreal psychological horror game where you're playing as this individual named Omori, and you're in this dream world sort of state, and then you go from there to this real world, and you're trying to connect the dots of like who these characters are in this dream world, who they are in this real world, and kind of uncover this deep and dark hidden facts of this person, this young boy's life. And so it's one of those games where I'm big into turn-based RPGs, so I was like, this seems like my alley because it was just something to sink a good chunk of time into. It's kind of like about a 20-hour game or so if you want to just go one playthrough, but it's one of those games where very much like Undertale, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who make this comparison because there's a lot of dark and interesting themes and different ways to play and different like good and bad endings to get. But it's one of those things where like there's a point in the game where you can literally not leave your house at all, and it's called the Hikikomori route, I think it's pronounced, and it's basically like just
Hikikomori. I think
that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's basically you just staying inside your house the entire time, and you get this totally different route, and it's even like more delves more into a darker theme of the game. It's so much fun. Like it's a really good game just in general from the combat and the way they deal with emotions, but just like the ending of it takes you for a turn that I wasn't expecting. And it was one of those things where like I expected a part of it but didn't expect the entire thing, and I was like, oh damn. And at the end of it you just kind of like sat there and you're like, that was a lot. Like it was one of those things where it's something that's so dark, and I don't want to spoil it because I think that people should go into this blind because it makes it so much better. But it's one of those things where at the end of it, I was just like, man, if I was in that situation, I don't know what I would do. So for the people who have played it, they'll understand. And for those who haven't, I recommend you get it.
It's one of those games where I'm like, oh, I really want to play it, but also I prefer to play it on Switch, but it's only on PC at the moment. So I'm just like,
yeah, I was gonna ask if it's on Switch because I just don't play many PC games.
It's so good though. I believe it. There are talks about it coming to consoles later on, but like this was one of those things where like I didn't know anything about this, and I just kind of picked it up on a whim, and I'm so glad I did. But this is one of those stories where if I knew, like there's no way I would have waited if I really knew what this was all about. It's a really good game. But yeah, if you're not gonna stick with it, like it's one that does. Like this was in part of my critiques was it does kind of get like a little slow, and there's moments where you're like, I want more story, but it's kind of just very slow paced to get you to that end part that's like amazing.
More story in Omori.
More, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for, baby. But that being said, you know, it's like it's so worth it at the end. But if you're not going to stick it out because PC is not your preferred place, then yeah, I guess it would make sense to wait until it comes to Switch. I just don't know when that ever will be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I did play Undertale on the PC, so it doesn't sound like a very high. A very intensive game system.
No, it's not. It's very, it's an RPG Maker game. It's not very crazy. Like, the art style to it is beautiful. Like the way all of the characters are drawn and everything, whatnot, is really interesting when you're going into like fight sequences based on the way they do it, because it's just, you know, an actual still drawing for the most part when you're in a battle. But the rest of the world is more or less just sprites. So it's not anything that's going to be like, oh, I can't run this on my, you know, my janky ass laptop. Like you'll be fine, kind of a thing, depending on what you have.
Yeah, I think so. I might go for it.
I'd recommend it. But then the other game I wanted to talk about is, and this one will be a little bit quicker, is Olija, which I don't know. That's how you pronounce it, but I feel like for like English speaking people, most will say like Olija or Olija. Because, you know, pronunciations. But that being said, it is a very interesting looking game that is being published by Devolver Digital, and it's created by the developers Skeleton Crew Studio. But the interesting about this studio is they help individuals, but it's really a solo developer working on this. And then they're just kind of there for support. So the actual developer is named Thomas Olsen, or Thomas Olsen, depending on if you want to say it in English. And I just actually interviewed him the other day because of, you know, for IndiePod. So I wanted to talk about this game because it is pretty cool. And he is stationed in Kyoto, Japan. So it fits, even though he's French. But it's a really interesting little game if you haven't seen it in any like those, Devolver Directs or different types of directs that are out there. It's this game about a man named Faraday, who is like a captain of a ship, and he ends up getting shipwrecked and stuck on this strange island. He's trying to figure out, what's going on this island, because there's these strange creatures, these primal creatures that are kind of attacking him that are doing just random things on the island. It's really more of like an exploration game to see what that island is all about. But you're also one of the main the selling points in it, even though for some reason the developer was downplaying it a little bit. I think to like the selling point is there's this magic harpoon that you find, and with it you have the ability to do normal combat things. It's a harpoon, you can stab people with it, right? But you can also
you can throw,
right, exactly. But you could also throw it, and when you throw it at an enemy, you can teleport, like basically dash towards it. So there's like this platforming aspect and this combat aspect where you're able to, dodge and dash through things using the harpoon. And it looks like a lot of fun. Seems like a smaller game. The developer said it would probably take on average like a 4 to 5 hour run, but it definitely has my interest. I would recommend people check it out because it comes out, I think, in like 14 days or so. I believe the 28th. And right now I just have played the demo from Steam, but this one, Nadia, this one is coming to Switch, so you can play it there.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, it definitely sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's coming to exactly. It's coming to Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. It's everywhere. So you know what? If you don't have a PC for gaming, you can still play this one.
Yep.
No excuses.
Nadia, what have you been playing?
I am always playing Final Fantasy XIV. Like, that's always something to check into once in a while. So now that the main story is kind of on break, I don't visit every single day, but I do check in and do things with my friends. I recently tried to get back into Persona 4 Royal, but I'm stuck in that stupid factory.
Persona 5 Royal or Persona 4?
Sorry,
yeah, I was like, wait.
Sorry to get your hopes up there. Yeah, I'm stuck in that factory level and I hate it, so I kind of gave up on that for now. What else? Oh, I recently finished 13 Sentinels, which was pretty mind-blowing. I really, really enjoyed that. It was a real trip, start to finish, and of course, Vanillaware's art is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Every background in that game looks like an oil painting. It's insane what they did.
Yeah, I still need to check that one out.
And yeah, I would. I'd give that one my whole recommendation, especially if you're into Vanillaware. And finally, on the Switch, I'm playing a little bit of something called Monster Sanctuary.
Yeah, I actually just finished. There should be an article about that up soon on Parallax. I just finished writing a little bit about it.
It's a really cute little monster collecting game, and I enjoy its systems very much, even though I'm trying to beat Kane. Like, he keeps me from going into the underworld, and he's like, wait, I must test you, and he keeps kicking
I'm not even that
ass,
far yet. I'm still in pretty early. I thought I got stuck in, like, the Stronghold dungeon, but it was just this lever puzzle, and it's like, no, the lever that you need to go pull isn't, like, back in another room, and that's why people get stuck there. Like, I was, like, on a forum. I was like, oops.
Yeah, that's the one complaint I have about the game, is it has the puzzles that it has are all just these lever puzzles that are completely useless and are kind of infuriating. So yeah, I feel where you're coming from, but the monster collecting and the designs and the art, the sprite work, music is good too. It's a very fun indie game. I'm enjoying it very much. I'm also trying Of Rice and Ruin, but I feel a little more directionless in that game because I feel like maybe I should read a "What the hell are you doing, you beginner" FAQ.
read on how to cultivate rice.
Not even the rice, just the whole like, okay, here's your quest. You have to collect this. You have to do that. You have to do that. Okay, fine. And I just feel like it's not explained extremely well. Which okay, maybe I'm stupid, but I think I will consult a beginner FAQ, and maybe that'll really just vault me into where I feel comfortable with the game because it's a really charming idea. I really like the idea of just having a Metroidvania where you farm rice on the side.
Yeah, being a side scroller, I would think it would be more straightforward than that. Just like, okay, go. I don't know.
I think the graphical style is a little bit confusing. It's 2.5D. Monster Sanctuary, going back to that for a second, it's a lot simpler, but all its
2D.
Personalities and its monster designs. But there's no problem with navigation except for those stupid lever puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only complaint that I would have for Monster Sanctuary is like, I felt that the Metroidvania aspect of it was kind of underutilized because you got through the game at the start where you're like, oh, I can't do this because I don't have, I don't have a secondary way to float, or I don't have something to break that wall. And then you quickly gain like 6 or so monsters and you're like, okay, well now I've got them all, so I guess no big deal. At least that's how it felt. I don't know if later into the game, because I played about like 5 hours or so.
I feel the opposite. Like I had several monsters with the same ability and not the one I needed.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get. You sometimes have to evolve monsters to get the ability that you want.
I just found out that even happens
in the game.
because, like, in some of these indie games, they don't evolve, and I feel like I never know until it happens or it doesn't happen.
Yeah, in this game, only a handful evolve, but when they do, they're pretty badass.
Yeah. But I'm still playing it. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I recommend sticking to it. It's I kind of get frustrated with it sometimes, and I put it down and go back to Hades because I'm still got to get the true ending on that. But then I go back to it when I get mad at Hades.
Speaking of other games I've been playing, I was trying out the Monster Hunter Rise demo for a little bit with some friends.
Oh.
And, so we beat the first thing, whatever it's called, like Izuchi or something. And that was fine. But then when we fought the second thing, the Mitsuzune, it destroyed us. And we were really confused because, like, my friend I was playing with, he's like a Monster Hunter vet. He's been playing these games for a while, and he's like, yeah, it attacks faster and attacks a lot differently than I expected, and like he was giving this like detailed thing that I can't do justice, but but like we were just kind of shocked that in this demo we actually were able to be defeated by this thing.
I have heard that this Monster Hunter is actually a lot more like the traditional Monster Hunters in that it is not as forgiving as World. And I'm not a huge Monster Hunter fan, so I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, but even as people who had played before World, we were like, what the heck is going on? So that's a good sign.
Time to go back to monster hunting school.
Yeah. And then I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy. What is the name of the... Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution. Oh,
that's too many words. Why do they do this?
On Switch, because there was news last week about a couple new Yu-Gi-Oh! Games coming out, like in the near future. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna see if this works because it has a big problem. The Switch version, at least, has a big problem with slowdown and like crashing, especially after the big update it had. So I went back. There is still a little slowdown, but it crashed once. Only crashed once. And there wasn't like any kind of like other update. And I just joked with my friend. I'm like, I guess those Switch stability improvements must be good for something. But yeah, otherwise I haven't really been playing like that. Like Monster Sanctuary, I was playing for that article most of the time. That's about it. All right, so moving on to the In From Japan J list, where we talk briefly about recent video game-related entertainment news. Users can now stream Promare and other anime films on HBO Max. This is by Benjamin Maltby for Siliconera, and basically it's just that there are 6 titles are out on HBO Max this month from G Kids, I believe. It's Promare, Ride Your Way, Weathering with You, which was the last movie I saw in theaters, actually.
Your death movie. Mine was Sonic.
It was a good one to watch, though. The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. I've never heard of that. Never Ending Man, Hayao Miyazaki, and The Kingdom of Dreams and Madness. And I missed Promare in theaters twice, so I'm really glad I can look at that now.
I've heard so many good things about Promare, so maybe I should see it. I don't have HBO Max. I hate the way everything's scattered everywhere. It's really frustrating. They really cut that golden goose open as soon as they could.
We're just going back to paying for cable, basically.
Yeah.
We kind of are, aren't we? It's worse.
It is.
But yeah, I love like Studio Trigger stuff. Like SSSS Gridman is like one of my favorite anime of all time, probably, which is not a common thing. I feel like.
I haven't been watching too much anime lately. I think the last thing I watched seriously from like start to finish was
neither.
Beastars.
Like I haven't. I go on and off these days.
Yeah.
Besides.
Yeah, I gotta get back to watching JoJo.
Besides reading some manga and and JoJo when it comes out. Like I still haven't watched the last 2 episodes of part 5, and the last time I watched that was like over a year ago.
Might need a refresher.
Yeah. But it just comes and goes. Plus, as I say to some friends, I'm like, most JRPGs are technically anime.
Oh God, yes.
So it's a lot. And then the next thing is pre-orders are available now for the new reprint editions of the Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood art books. Each book will include an exclusive bonus minion code. So that's nice. I always think about getting these art books, and then I never do it. Because I'm like, I'm not even at that yet. Well, wait, am I in Stormblood?
Are you in Doma and all that stuff?
I might be in the beginning of Stormblood? Or right before Stormblood. I forgot where I am.
Stormblood.
I haven't played in a while.
It starts off very slow, but it gets really good.
I'm like helping people in this village.
Oh, those stupid pirates? Yeah, that's what's slow, but it gets...
Yeah, maybe, something like that. I haven't played in a while, so...
It gets a lot better once you reach the step and find the Prince of Doma again and start kicking ass. And of course, then you get to Shadowbringers, which
I liked Dragon Song. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Dragon Song War was incredible.
But like my friend, when I have like a friend who's like way more into like all the lore and the story than me, and like half the time I don't even pay attention to the cutscenes. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Who? What?
Oh my God, you're playing that the wrong way.
The whole reason you play 14 is for the story.
If it's like a big scene, well, because he does like a lot of like side quests and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know what you're. He like remembers all these details, and I'm like, what?
I can relate to him because I'm like all about the lore in Final Fantasy 14. Although there's still so much I haven't played.
I'm like that with other things, just not that in particular.
Maybe you'll like Shadowbringers. It's a pretty good story.
Next, we just have recommended content, which is just content other than news, usually from the past week, listed out, links in the description. We have, I know you all want N64, but the next classic library for Switch should be GameBoy by Cian Maher over at The Gamer.
That would be so many games.
What?
That would be so many games if they did that.
GameBoy. Oh yeah, he just put GameBoy. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
He didn't put Game Boy Advance games.
I mean, I have no real huge nostalgia for the N64, even though I owned one and I got one on launch day. I feel like the best games have been re-released in better forms, like Ocarina of Time got its remaster. I do kind of wish Mario 64 had been remastered a little bit more. Sure. But I still think that's a great game. On the other hand, though, you can go play Odyssey, which is an extension of that, and is kind of the final form of Super Mario 64. So, looking back at N64 games, most of them are kind of muddy and unattractive and have bad cameras. So, if I skip over that generation,
they gotta bring back Pokemon Stadium.
Pokemon Stadium.
Like, who wants it? You're gonna play Pokemon Stadium for 2 minutes and say, "Oh, it's nice."
I mean, I don't
know. I played it for hours before.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that.
When it was already outdated.
Playing Pokemon Snap again, though, like the original Snap.
New Snap.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, definitely gonna talk about that later. But and moving on the recommended content, we have Minish Cap is 16 years old today and is still woefully underappreciated. I agree. By Cian Maher.
I agree. I enjoyed Minish Cap a lot.
The Blood God recommends Dragon Quest III for Switch by Nadia Oxford, the US gamer.
When the hell did I write that? I mean, it's true.
Last year? No. I want to say last year, but
that sounds.
It wasn't.
Yeah. Okay,
it wasn't that long ago.
Yes.
No, 2019. That's why.
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago.
To be fair,
no, not that long ago.
Dragon Quest III is a great RPG still. It's surprisingly open world for an 8-bit RPG. And it's certainly one of my favorites, and I can see why Japan still reveres it.
Then we also have Why Dragon Quest Failed to Make It in America 30 Years Ago by Nadia.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was I covered that because someone was putting up literature about how hard Nintendo worked to get Dragon Quest out to the West. And they really did try, but by the time Dragon Quest came here, Japan was already getting Dragon Quest 4. And as we just talked about, Dragon Quest 3 was such a tremendous improvement over 1, like immeasurable. So the fact that they took all that time to localize Dragon Quest 1, which is a very primitive RPG, important but primitive, I wondered what would have happened if they had taken that energy and put it into Dragon Quest 3. They probably would have died, don't get me wrong, because that's a lot of localization. But might have had more fans, because even though America is not a town of RPG lovers compared to Japan, the original Final Fantasy still did good numbers, because that was a very deep, rich RPG, and I think Dragon Quest 3 would have had a good run.
Then we have Scarlet Nexus is an accidental metaphor for the struggle of COVID-19. This is the last story we have by you, Nadia. 3, that's the limit. That's how much you get. How many you get?
I cannot remember when that must have been very recent.
Yeah, last year.
Yes, the reason I wrote that
this year
is because
no, not this year. It can't be this year. Last year.
No.
Last year. Yeah, September.
Last year. The reason I wrote that is because I previewed Scarlet Nexus. It was just not hands-on, of course. It was just a video or something they sent to us. And I don't know have you seen the monster designs in that game?
A little bit.
They are creepy as hell. Like just absolutely mad.
Or
like flower heads with like ladies' legs and high heels. Like they're just completely inexplicable in a fascinating way. And one thing the developers made clear is that even though these literal things are raining down from the sky, like literally raining down from the sky and killing whoever they can find, people just kind of go about their lives because they have no choice. That's what your character does, is like protects the public from these monsters while they go about their lives, and people don't really let it stop them. So it just kind of reminded me of us trying to do our best during COVID. Of course, it wasn't a purposeful metaphor because it but
this is how it worked out.
It just reminded me of things, I guess I'll say.
That reminds me of this manga called Kaiju number 8 that I've been reading that I think only came out at the midpoint of last year, and it's kind of similar where like they're the people who like fight kaiju, but kaiju just exist and happen, but otherwise people just like do regular things.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we have Bubble Bobble 4 Friends, The Baron is Back Extras Improved First Version by Benjamin Maltby for Siliconera. Omori review for IndiePod by Josh over here.
Hey! It's a good one. Check it out.
The Worst Game Launches of All Time by Kurt Indovina for GameSpot. And Game Boy Color Importer's Guide, The Best Japan-Only Game Boy and Game Boy Color Games by Graham Russell for Michibiku.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, Michibiku, it's 2 people from Siliconera, and they have like import guides for like each system. So that's they have like a Wonder Swan one even.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow, cool.
All right, so now we're gonna get into the news rundown. Since our bearer of bad news, and as he likes to be called, Shinigami, is not Jason is not here. We need to I'm gonna take over his duties for this week. So first we have 7 more prefectures, including Osaka, Kyoto, join Japan's state of emergency to combat rising COVID-19 cases. Sometimes we get into Japanese news just to see what things are like over there.
Not great, apparently.
Surprisingly.
We're actually in Ontario, just went into full lockdown, so yeah. Again.
Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga confirmed in a press conference on Wednesday evening that 7 more prefectures will join the greater Tokyo area in a state of emergency to combat the rapidly rising amount of cases of coronavirus that is spreading throughout the country, bringing the total to 11 prefectures across Japan's major metropolitan areas. It's Osaka, Kyoto, Hyogo, Aichi, the Tokai prefecture of Aichi and Gifu, as well as the southern prefecture of Fukuoka and Kanto's Tochigi prefecture. The reason I put this is because there have been a lot of like event cancellations over there, including the they're delaying the opening of Super Nintendo World.
Yeah, and that's certainly the right thing to do. I'm watching these previews of the Super Mario World, just the tours and stuff, and I'm like, you guys are really kind of fooling yourselves. Don't get me wrong, I want to see this open.
Yeah.
Now's not the time.
I should probably forget about that and probably start realistically thinking about the Olympics. I don't know at this point.
Probably not.
I was reading something. Somebody was saying that like the problem in Japan was that people either take lockdown, they take it's being taken too literally. Like either everybody's locked down or everybody's out, and it doesn't like. It's like a weird, not like unbalanced or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's everything's kind of messy.
Yeah.
It seems to be all over though. So I mean, who are we to say anything about it? I guess.
But we'll get over it eventually.
I sure hope so.
We'll get through it. I mean, we're already.
There's
things
just transitioned.
Yeah. Sorry. Nintendo eShop went down after Monster Hunter Rise demo launched because so many people were playing it or wanted to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I saw footage of people trying to play it, and of course, Nintendo's online infrastructure is Nintendo's online infrastructure, so it's just going like 2 frames per second if you were lucky.
This is by Kite Stenbuck for Siliconera. If you have downloaded the Monster Hunter Rise demo on the Nintendo eShop, you are one of the lucky people who were able to do so. Yeah. Because when I tried to download it, it did not work. Like, I clicked the button, and clicking the button wouldn't work. Restarted my Switch, it was fine. I was just like, that was weird. The eShop experienced problems due to concentrated access soon after the demo's launch and eventually went under emergency maintenance.
Well, I bet Capcom's happy about the response.
It also recommended that people wait for downloads to begin on their own instead of mashing the demo download button. I didn't. Definitely not me.
Don't mash the buttons, you idiots.
It's back up now. But yeah, that's crazy. Is this like the first time that's happened for a demo? On Switch, I mean?
I don't know. It doesn't happen often if it has happened.
Didn't it just happen with a game recently where it ended up breaking the eShop? What was it? I don't know if it wasn't a demo. It was like a full game that went live.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like, that's why I'm asking a demo. It might be the first time for a demo to do that. I know something has done. Yes, other stuff has done that before.
Yeah,
I forgot what.
I've never heard of a demo doing it.
That's just how much people want a new Monster Hunter, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah, pretty cool. I want Monster Hunter stories too. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes, virtual high five.
The first game was really underrated.
Yes, exactly. See, she gets it.
Yeah, it's the Monster Hunter that I like. I'm okay with the regular Monster Hunter, but stories.
I actually I wrote an article because when people were saying, there were those articles going around where like I can't play Monster Hunter World because like I feel bad killing the monsters because it's so detailed of like with how they get hurt. I'm like, I did a thing and it's like if you're not feeling that, play this game.
Yeah, they love monsters. They live.
But then nobody played story.
Yeah, but I'm glad
enough to get a sequel.
Anyway.
So also the mobile version is actually $5. I think I don't know if it's on sale or what, because it was on sale for $5, and then when I looked yesterday, it was still $5. So I'm like, is it permanently $5 on mobile now?
Oh, I didn't even know it was on mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sweet.
I was like, where's the Switch port?
Yeah, I would love to play a Switch port of that because I don't really want to play it on my phone, frankly.
Next story is Persona 5 Strikers localization was delayed due to COVID by Onidino for Siliconera. Erica Harlacher, the voice actor of An, confirmed in a YouTube video that Persona 5 Strikers localization was delayed due to COVID. The video comes from the channel of Cassandra Lee Morris, the voice actor for Morgana. In a casual chat between Harlacher and Morris, the voice actors talked about the Persona 5 Strikers localization. Harlacher mentioned the unfortunate need to ignore tweets from fans asking about the Persona 5 Strikers dub. Morris expressed wanting to reassure fans that the Western version would be coming, but of course could not. The voice actors then confirmed that they recorded the dub during the COVID-19 quarantine. Harlacher said the recording was about to start around April 2020, but then quarantine went into effect. Production was anticipating everyone would go back into the studio a few weeks later, but that did not happen. Afterward, they had come up with a plan B, and the voice actors were sent microphones and equipment to record remotely. The audio engineers then mixed everything on their end. I feel like that's how a lot of things have had to do stuff.
Yeah, that's actually something Kat and I talked about when we recorded this week's episode. Just how she and I take for granted how we already know how to work at home. It doesn't bother us. The transition for COVID was literally nothing to us. But so many game developers, and I guess now I know localizers and translators, they don't know how to work from home. And I'm sure they learned over the past year, but they had to make that adjustment. And that's a difficult adjustment if you're like not in a house with an office or you have kids and they got to learn online and it throws your life into chaos. I understand why everything's being delayed these days.
I'm sure it's a big deal, especially for sound. Like thinking about people who have to record, like if you are an individual who was just like a voice actor that walked into a studio, didn't think about anything because everything was just set up there for you and you just talked and like that was the thing, you acted. And then you're like, I'm done. And then you go home and you never think about it. Like, then to be told, okay, now you have to get all this equipment. You have to set it up. You have to make sure it's all, the way it should be. And they're like, I don't know what to do. I've never done this before. Like, you have to learn a new job, basically.
You really do. And like for professional recordings, of course, it's so much different versus just like, no offense, chatting on a podcast, because I'm sure your podcast sounds fine. Just, what I mean? Like for a game, it has to be professional level. You got to have a place to record. One time, Kat and I, when we recorded live, we couldn't find a room to do it in, so we literally kind of built a sound studio out of couch cushions in a hotel room.
That's pretty cool.
It worked.
Yeah, it's crazy. I totally lost my train of thought on that.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I was just like, what was the voice acting thing? Oh, also, like, I don't know how voice acting from home works, but like if there's somebody else on the other end and like to check that like your levels are good and stuff, like you also have to make sure your internet connections are good because you don't want to. I don't know if you want to be sending a voice like a new voice file back and forth. Like how's this?
Right.
Yeah. That's a lot of bandwidth, and a lot of American plans are really crappy. Canadian plans are crappy too, but at least I have unlimited.
They're probably slightly better, right?
I would assume.
Slightly. We got a couple monopolies up here. If you don't like one, you get the other and screw you.
Just like America.
Yep.
Pretty much.
And then the last thing on the bad-ish news is Capcom confirms more personal details compromised by ransomware. This is by Kite Stenbuck, once again, for Silicon Era. Capcom has published an official update to its investigation on the internal data breach caused by a ransomware attack. It confirmed that personal information from thousands of its employees and business partners got compromised. While the previous report on November 16, 2020 only confirmed 9 instances of personal information breaches, the new press release added 16,406 more people to that verified list.
That's a small one.
Bringing the total up to 16,415 people, including the first 9 people. The number consisted of 3,248 business partners, 9,169 former employees, and 3,998 active employees.
Damn.
Wow. That's real bad. How did this even happen? How did they fall into this ransomware trap?
Capcom still has 390,000 more people, including approximately 58,000 applicants whose data may be potentially compromised. However, it removed 18,000 members from the North American store and esports websites from the potential number, as there was no evidence of data compromised from those sources. The company once again assured the public that this attack did not compromise credit card info and customer-side networks like web stores and game servers, as they are handled on external servers. Capcom also has since restored most of its internal systems. Currently, the attack should have no effects on the group's consolidated results for the current fiscal year ending in March 2021. There's this one, and then there was like just a week or two ago there was one like a similar thing happened with Koei Tecmo. I'm like, what's going on here?
Right. I don't know. See, I don't know a whole lot about ransomware or how you fall prey to it, but maybe a refresh of security protocols are in order by the sounds of it.
It's always good to do. Probably would be a good idea.
Yeah, because that's pretty nasty.
And All right, so that's enough for the baddish news. God, Jason, never have me do that again. Next we have this was kind of my favorite news from the past week. Is Monster Hunter, even though I can't even play one of these games because it's not localized. Monster Hunter Riders collaborates with Dragon Quest of the Stars. This is once again by Kite Stenbuck for Silicon Era. Capcom and Square Enix announced a two-way collaboration between Monster Hunter Riders and Dragon Quest of the Stars in Japan. Both mobile games will receive new content from the other franchise. Capcom published a new trailer for Monster Hunter Riders that shows the new collaboration content. Players will be able to fight and befriend several Dragon Quest monsters like Slime and Great Sabercat. The original characters from Riders' storyline will also appear with attire based on legacy Dragon Quest characters. There was a Terry outfit in there from Dragon Quest VI and Dragon Quest Monsters. So I got really excited.
Yeah, I like how the poster that they're using is basically the Dragon Quest VI box, but just with the Monster Hunter monsters.
I didn't even realize that. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they're riding on a Rathalos
dragon. Yeah.
It's really cute.
Likewise, Square Enix also put up a trailer where Dragon Quest of the Stars will add monsters from the Monster Hunter series. Players of the Dragon Quest mobile RPG will be able to fight against Rathalos, Barrios, Zinogre, Tigrex, and Deviljho. Capcom and Square Enix will reveal more details on the collaboration at a joint live stream set to air on January 14, 2021 at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. The producers of both mobile games will deliver more information on each game. While this marks the first ever collaboration between the two massive Japanese franchises, Monster Hunter has previously collaborated with other Square Enix franchises. Monster Hunter World traded Rathalos with Final Fantasy XIV's Behemoth, while the now defunct online game Monster Hunter Frontier added content from Nier Automata.
Monster Hunter and Nier, now that's a combination.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I actually did the Rathalos quest in 14, and I got my Calico.
They still have, isn't it? They still have it, right?
No, oh yeah, it's a permanent
Yeah.
quest. You can get it.
I just don't think I'm at that point yet.
No,
Alright,
it's in Kuragane.
Yeah, so it's not for a while.
Yeah.
Because I definitely want to get that mount. I got the Yokai Watch mount because I'm a huge Yokai Watch fan. So
I got a couple of Yokai Watch
I got
mounts.
all the minions, a few of the weapons, and like the first mount. Because I'm like, I'm not gonna try to get all the weapons.
It was kind of fun when the quest first started.
Oh my god, that was
going
insane!
From fate to fate. That was insane. That was a lot of fun.
Everybody would just fly on their mount from one fate to another. But if you weren't fast enough,
yeah,
you had
so
to.
like the one fate would end and everyone would start getting on there. Like you have like a Pegasus, a unicorn, a dragon, a flying car, just kind of going to the next spot. It was great.
All right. Oh, Josh, I decided for you to take this one.
I'm up.
You wanted to.
Yeah, because this is one of the ones that I actually did want to talk about. So over on Gamatsu, written by Sal Romano, we have Dragon Quest Tact launches January 27th in the West. So this is tactical RPG Dragon Quest Tact will launch for iOS via the App Store and Android via Google Play on January 27th. Publisher Square Enix and developer Aiming announced. Pre-registration is available now, which I actually personally just did. A limited time King Slime early access bonus will be available to all players at launch. So this information, I don't know if we want to go over this because this has already been, out there since. But the main crux of this article is just that we have an official date now for the 27th.
Yeah.
That's
I was
really
like,
cool.
wait, didn't this come out already? And I had to ask my friend. I was like, oh wait, yeah, it was in early access. Because I signed up for early access, but like it didn't work on my phone or something. So I was like, oh man.
Is it a free-to-play game?
Okay, so is the monetization of it going to be like really egregious though?
I don't know. It's not the only.
That's the question.
I remember when this was first announced for release in Japan. I looked up something, and this is not the first like Dragon Quest strategy game. There's one on like DSiWare,
DS.
3DS.
I had it.
Was it any good, or because I never heard anything about it. It was just kind of there.
Yeah, it wasn't the most like incredibly advanced tactics RPG out there. So hopefully the iOS one. I'm not expecting Final Fantasy Tactics, but maybe something.
I mean, you never know.
Probably not.
could
But it does look
surprise you.
fun, and I just, I love the cute characters from Dragon Quest no matter what, so...
Yeah, the monsters are kind of top tier. And you can't do it.
Exactly.
I was actually watching Kaiji Tang, the voice actor for Ichiban from Yakuza 7. He was streaming Dragon Quest 11, and that was kind of a weird moment. But he was
That's
reacting
great.
to like what are they called? The cucumber from the
Oh, the
cucumbers.
cucumbers.
Yeah, he was like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the reaction." I was like,
I could see Ichiban saying that.
"Yo, if you think that's weird, just you wait."
Wait until you meet a teeny tiny.
Oh, I was gonna say the weird men in like the fursuits, or
Oh, the were tiger. Yes.
What? Why? Akira
Nobody
Toriyama,
knows.
what were you thinking? Or Yuji Horii, whoever decided first, because I remember in the art book it said Yuji Horii said for like one of them he would send his designs in, and then Akira Toriyama would make like his version.
I can see that
Like
happening.
there was one for like a wave monster that was like a wave of water, and the only thing that Akira Toriyama like did differently is he made the eyes like, because the eyes were like red and like evil in Yuji Horii's drawing, and Akira Toriyama basically made it like a little less threatening, like a little cuter. And I was like,
Yeah, with
that's
the
pretty
Akira
funny.
Toriyama eyes, which means you get Vegeta
Yeah.
or Goku. No in between.
Yeah, pretty much. And then speaking of Dragon Quest footage monetization is now allowed in Japan. This is once again by Kai Stenbuck for Siliconera. He's just everywhere. Also, Jason thinks it's like the coolest name ever.
That is pretty cool.
Square Enix revised the guidelines for publishing images, videos, and live streams of Dragon Quest series titles in Japan on January 14th, 2021. It now allows Japanese individual streamers to monetize videos and live streams from any Dragon Quest games for their own profit. The press release recalled a quote from Yuji Horii, the father of Dragon Quest, that games are also a communication tool. It also recognized a change in communication methods as the era progressed. With online interactions becoming more ubiquitous, Japanese individuals may now generate profit from streams and videos uploaded on platforms approved by Jazzrack, I don't know what that is, but such as YouTube, Nico Nico, and Twitch. However, the first Q&A segment on the guidelines page noted that this allowance only applies to individuals who are currently residing in Japan. In the Japanese press release, Square Enix also revealed that it had signed a comprehensive license agreement for multiple titles, including the Dragon Quest series with It's 3 U's and an M. So I don't know if it's
Yeah, those guys.
a Japanese online content creator network. This gives further assurance for streamers in Japan to make profit from the series gameplay videos. So, I saw something that said like, this is clearly because of the rising popularity of VTubers or something, and I'm like, I don't know.
It makes sense. I actually am wondering off the top of my head what Square Enix's policies are for Dragon Quest streaming here, because Yuji Horii is absolutely right when he says it's kind of a communication tool.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Square Enix would love any exposure whatsoever it can get for Dragon Quest XI and Dragon Quest in general.
And there were all these rumors too, because like people thought like the composer passed away because he has like a stake in Dragon Quest or something.
He owns like a third of the company, or half of it, or something like that.
And people were like, "Wait, does this mean?" It's like, no, it's just Square just decided to do that.
Right. Yeah, it was an interesting question just that you had raised, Nadia, because I had the same thought. That's why I just typed in on Twitch, because I was wondering if it was even there. And like, you do have people who are playing it right now, so I guess we're more lenient on it, or maybe the same.
Yeah,
like
because we've been able to stream Dragon Quest stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I think Square over here is generally okay. It has. I know there was a lot of Final Fantasy VII remake controversy, but once a game is out and established, it's like, okay, whatever, do what you want, because it's smart enough to know, I suppose, that it's free advertising at the end of the day.
Right. Like, yeah, how much content would you really be doing where you'd benefit that much that a whole company would need to shut it down, right?
Exactly. It's weird. I don't understand Japan's position on streaming, except to know that it's a little different from ours and a little bit a little bit more strict in many regards.
Okay. Since we've already been going for an hour, I'm gonna try to figure out I need to figure out which things I need to like not do. Take that out, take that out.
We're cutting.
Don't need that. But we will go to the next one. It's the other side of Square Enix, Final Fantasy. New Final Fantasy 11 content detailed by game's producer. I can't believe this game is still going. By Benjamin Maltby for Siliconera. We mostly use Siliconera and Gamatsu. Not that any other sources are bad. They just have.
I did too when I was.
They have the most stuff on Japanese games. That's just how it works out.
No, it makes sense. And yeah, Final Fantasy 11. When I was a dog groomer, my manager, I still talk to her and meet up with her sometimes. And her husband still plays Final Fantasy 11. Gets together, raids with his friends. I imagine you're not the only one.
That's crazy.
It appears that the trend will continue, according to a recent announcement by the game's producer, Akihiko Matsue, which addresses future updates and support for the subscription-based game. This announcement was originally planned for January as part of a livestream event, but the global pandemic and consequent lockdowns led to its cancellation. In January and February of this year, the development team will be introducing new features to the Odyssey battle content that released in March of 2020. I don't know anything about Final Fantasy 11. I'm just impressed that it's still getting expansions.
Yeah, me too. I don't know a whole lot about it. I do know that it was apparently the game that really modernized RPGs, believe it or not. MMORPGs. There are a lot of systems in place that helped with that, so I appreciate it for what it is.
Like new storylines began as recently as August 2020. It's just... Game celebrated its 18th anniversary.
Crazy.
Last year.
Well, you know what's Ragnarok Online.
Really?
It's still going. It's free to play now, but yeah.
I know a lot of people who I barely played that one, but I know a lot of people who use little Ragnarok sprites for their Twitch alerts.
Oh yeah, I love Ragnarok Online. I used to play it all the time. I still love the soundtrack. It's still
I barely
next
played
level.
it, but I mean, yeah, there's that, and RuneScape is still going somehow.
It's funny, for example, Ragnarok is extremely popular in the Philippines, so that's where a lot of the player base is, and I guess it could be the case with a lot of the older RPGs. Player base developed there.
And Maple Story and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think Maple Story.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, Maple Story had a sequel, and I feel like not that many people played
canned,
it.
Though they made the sequel, and it just recently
right.
the servers were shut down.
Same with the Ragnarok Online too. That did not go.
That's because you have that player base, the player base.
The first ones were just so good. They just
Yeah, you don't really need to improve that much on them. They're old, but they're old in a good way.
And then Final Fantasy 14 5.41 patch notes details new items in Ishgardian Restoration Quest by Kazuma Hashimoto for Siliconera. They detailed some new stuff, including some new emotes and accessories. This adorable little Triceratops minion, I think.
Yeah, the Triceratops minion is actually funny because the description for it exactly matches the scene out of Jurassic Park with the Triceratops and the poop.
Is it from another game, or is it just unique to...
No, it's just unique. Apparently, Count so-and-so from Ishgard found it in a diadem and nursed it back to health after it ate poison
Somebody
berries.
just said, I want to put a Triceratops in this game.
There's already a Brachiosaur I have that follows me sometimes, but I have the black cat minion more than anything.
I just want that flying elephant mount. That looks hilarious.
I have one. I got one. That was one of the beast quests. I can't remember which one.
I remember looking it up.
Yeah, and I was on my way to get a white griffin, which is the final mod you can get in that quest. And at one point, I'm like, oh, well, I can buy a flying elephant if I want.
Why not?
So I bought a flying elephant, and one time I was in Moradona, and someone was blocking the door to the Seven Stones. They were on the elephant, and they're blocking the door, and their name was An Elephant. And it's like, well, checks out, I guess. It delivers what it promises.
There are new emotes, a rice ball and apple eating emote, alongside the bread eating emote that's already there, and a sweeping emote. I don't know. I don't know.
So many emotes.
The photo mode, I'm impressed with the way some people use the photo mode just impresses me a lot. With
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, how do I do that? I can't even time anything right.
I have no idea. I'm bad at photo modes. I'm bad at photos, period.
And our last, is that our last Square Enix thing? Okay. So, and our last Square Enix story, I swear, for today, is Square Enix trademarks Ever Crisis, the First Soldier, and Shinra logo in Japan. It's loading. This is from Sal Romano over at Gamatsu. Square Enix filed trademarks for Ever Crisis and the First Soldier on December 17, 2020 in Japan, as well as the Shinra Electric Power Company logo on December 22nd. All three trademarks were made just public today. They all seem to be related to Final Fantasy VII. Ever Crisis shares a similar name to the 2004 released mobile game Before Crisis Final Fantasy VII and 2007 released PSP game Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. The First Soldier may be referenced to Sephiroth, the main villain of the Final Fantasy VII series. And Shinra Electric Power Company is an organization in the world of Final Fantasy VII.
I think that Final Fantasy, the First Order,
First Soldier,
whatever it was called, that's going to be a movie. Sorry. What's the New Order called? Freaking Square.
New Order?
Well, what was the name of the something order that you just listed off?
The First Soldier?
First Soldier, sorry. Okay, so it's First Soldier. It could be a follow-up to First Order.
Oh,
which
right.
was
The animated thing.
Anime movie. Well, actually, really good. A lot better than Advent Children.
I like Advent Children a lot, but I think I don't remember if I watched First Order or not.
It's a short one. It's just about Zack and Cloud and them escaping. I'm salty about Advent Children because the Japanese version has a song by Gerard Way that I cannot find in English on any legitimate distribution methods. So I'm just going to die mad about that. And I think that...
I'm disappointed they didn't have Sephiroth voiced by Lance Bass. No, I'm kidding. That's a Kingdom Hearts joke for those of you who don't know.
And I'm guessing that whatever that other thing is that you mentioned is probably something
Ever
about
Crisis?
Zack. Ever Crisis, yeah, because it's clear that they really want to bring Crisis Core into the remake timeline, which is fine, but we got to have something that tells us about Crisis Core because the game is stuck on the PSP.
Yeah, I do like that game. I did not...
It was a good game.
I did not like Remake that much.
I liked Remake, and I liked Crisis Core, and Crisis Core had... I still look back at this, because I look at this, and I'm like, this game had better CGI cutscenes than it had any
Oh my god, I know, right? I always say one of my favorite fight scenes in anything ever is the Genesis, Sephiroth, Angeal, when they're on the thing, and I'm like, why is that so good?
and the scene where Zack dies, spoilers. Like that's... It's also really well done.
Over a decade old spoilers.
Well, I guess I won't play it now.
You can't. It's on the PSP and nowhere else.
You can watch it on YouTube.
Not a bad idea. The movie seems a lot of fun. I like Cloud and Zack as a pair. They're really fun.
And then Shinra Electric Power Company is Shinra. It's like,
Maybe Square Enix is opening Power Company.
It's a Shinra gacha game. I don't know.
Shinra gacha game. That'd be horrifying.
Okay, next story is Tales of Festival 2020 live stream details and key visual reveal. This is by Sato for Siliconera. This is usually Jason's department, but I'm gonna take this over. Bandai Namco has shared new details for the Tales of Festival 2020 live stream that is set to take place this March in Japan. The new information comes from the How to Make Tales of Festival 2020 a more fun special support program that the developers broadcasted today, or whenever this was written. 4 days ago. It usually takes place in front of a packed Yokohama arena audience, which feature events such as talk shows, character skits, concerts, and more. However, due to the pandemic, Bandai Namco will host the Tales of Festival 2020 this March as a special live stream. Originally set for June 13th to 14th, 2020, but delayed to March 6th to 7th, 2021 due to COVID-19. The theme of the festival is Tales Fest from Home, and the keyword is support. It will feature 25 years worth of Tales characters illustrated in their Oenden-style cheering squad outfits for the event. It features a bunch of voice actors as guests from various Tales games, and we don't know. And you can get tickets for it. You have to get tickets for a live stream. I don't know, but it'll go on sale via the official website starting at 10 a.m. Japanese Standard Time on January 12th, 2021, and they'll be available until 11:59 p.m. Japan Standard Time on January 31st, 2021. There's just a little bit of artwork. Wondering if we'll finally get some Tales of Arise news, because we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, I am not a Tales person yet. Maybe it will be someday. I'm working on it. Eric from US Gamer was our Tales person. Kat and I are just kind of like, we promised to get into it, we swear. So I can't really say one way or the other if this is like, hey, great, or...
The only ones I have a few that I have Zestiria and Berseria that will play at some point. But... Yeah. I've played a little bit of Tales of Cristoria, which is a fun little mobile game, I guess. And then all the other Tales games I've tried, I'm just like been like, not my thing.
Yeah, Tales has always been that series that I like look at, and I'm like, maybe I'll get into that one day, and then I just never do.
Like, cause I tried.
Yeah,
I tried the one like a lot of people said like, oh, Tales of Symphonia, that's the best one, and then I tried it when the HD version came out, and I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this.
All right, so let's move on to the next story, which is Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, a bigger, badder Bowser trailer, as well as the Switch Mario Red and Blue Edition have been announced. This is over on Gamatsu by Sal Romano. So this is Nintendo has released the second official trailer for Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, as well as announced that Nintendo Switch the new Mario Red and Blue Edition, which is out on February 12th, for $299.99. That's US dollars. The Nintendo Switch Mario Red and Blue Edition features a distinct red and blue color scheme in honor of Mario's iconic outfit, as well as red Joy-Con controls with blue straps, a blue Joy-Con grip, a red Switch dock, and a red Switch system. So why this is interesting is because this is the first time they're saying in the article that they've actually changed the color of the Switch. So you have this nice new looking red one. The Switch console actually looks pretty snappy. Like I'm not the type of person who's going to buy a new Switch, but like if you don't have a Switch and then you get this one, it's a pretty sweet looking one.
Yeah, I am a big sucker for the colors red and blue, so that works for me.
Yeah, I kind of want those Joy-Cons. They look nice.
Me too.
I wish I had those Dragon Quest 11 Joy-Cons that they had in Japan. Those are really cool looking.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, these are more minimalistic.
Yeah.
And then the other big thing about this, I won't go too deep into this, but it's basically that the Bowser's Fury trailer came out, and so they were showing off. I got really excited about it because Bowser's Fury pretty much seems like just doing Super Mario 3D World mechanics, but in the form of what you would expect for Super Mario Odyssey. It's kind of like a 2.5 or something, or a 1.5 of the game. I'm super excited. I don't know if either of you played 3D World, but like that was my jam.
I've never played 3D World.
I did.
No.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, I played it. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to this because, as you say, it does look a lot more open the way that Odyssey is. And if there is one complaint I had about 3D World, is that it did feel a little kind of squished in sometimes, especially when you're playing with more people. So just getting to kind of run around as a cat.
Right.
I'm okay with that. And Bowser looks pretty
Mario Kaiju fight, let's go.
I know the craziness. I think it was someone that I have on Twitter posted a picture where they put up the scene where it's Mario as the giant cat, the Goku looking cat,
giant
versus
Super Saiyan
versus
line.
Bowser, and they put up like the Pokemon as if it's like a Gigantamax battle.
Oh, I saw that.
I saw that too. So good.
That's pretty much it.
But yeah, I mean, I do like that they're going into this more darker theme, which is kind of unusual for Mario games. I'm interested to see like what's going on with Bowser. It's kind of weird.
I'm guessing that you have to team up with Bowser Jr. Maybe he's trying to get his father back because something has gone wrong.
Yeah.
Something's got to go real wrong if Bowser Jr. is on your side.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets on your side in Origami King, and I don't know if either of you played that.
And I did not like it.
You didn't like it? Did you finish it?
I did not. I got to the part where they had that very sad scene that I wasn't expecting them to pull, in
that
an
was
actual
sad too.
Mario game. And then shortly after, I couldn't do it. It was one of those things where the game was like, don't get me wrong, a lot of good qualities with the game, but it was something where I'd play it and anything other than a boss battle, I was like, God, this is boring. Like, this is just not interesting at all. Like, there was no real RPG. Like, there was no reason to fight other than to get more coins. And I was like, I have thousands of coins. What do I need to do?
There was a whole thing where there wasn't really experience, huh? Like, not in the same way. Part.
I hated it.
That's a bit weird, yeah.
But I will say, though, that the last chapter, when you finally do team up again with Bowser's minions, is some of the funniest writing I've ever seen in RPG.
That is true. Like, I love the writing to it. It was just... those battles, I was like, I have no interest in this. I just want either the stories or the boss fights. Like, take out the regular battles, and I think that would have been, an amazing game for me.
Yeah, it is a common complaint, I understand.
All right, so moving on, we have Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. No plans for DLC, but developer hopes to create sequel. This is from Saruman at Gamatsu. That's not the first time I've said that. Imagine. Edelweiss has no plans to expand its rice farming simulation game Sakuna of Rice and Ruin with downloadable content, but would like to create a sequel if the opportunity presents itself. The developer told the latest issue of Weekly Famitsu as part of a feature commemorating the game's success. There aren't any plans for downloadable content, but we'd like to do a sequel if the opportunity arises, Edelweiss's Koichi said. Edelweiss's Naw added, while we don't have any concrete plans for a sequel, I have nothing but gratitude for the fans. When the timing is right, I hope we can live up to their expectations. The developer also addressed feedback for the many users who said rice planting is too difficult. Despite requests from staff, we were resolute in not implementing functionality to be able to plant the rice in an orderly manner, the developer said. We didn't want it to be a process that you could finish with the push of a button. The developer added, the one thing we hear most from people in the industry is that our game doesn't have shirokaki, paddy plowing in preparation for planting. The reason for this is because we couldn't come up with an idea that differentiates it from tilling. Sakuna is so interesting because it wasn't like in that many, at least I feel that it wasn't in a lot of Game of the Year conversations, but it sold a lot, and it even, I think the Japanese Department of Agriculture even really liked it or something with how the rice farming was.
I've heard that there's something in the game where if you request help, you'll get sent to the webpage for Japanese agriculture rice planting.
So it's just so fascinating to me. And I played this game at 2 or 3 different E3s just because it was there.
Yeah. Like I said, I really need to find a beginner's guide. And there are, of course, a million online, so I'll be fine.
It's just always interesting news with that game. Whenever games have an effect on another thing, like the Department of Agriculture or something, or get noticed by something that isn't necessarily in the video game space, I think that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too.
Next story is Monster Hunter Rise Magnamalo Amiibo unlocks unique layered armor by Kazuma Hashimoto for Silicon Arrow once again. Capcom has announced production of a Magnamalo Amiibo, and it comes with a special feature. Those who get their hands on this amiibo will unlock a special layered armor set. Players can don layered armor inspired by the new flagship monster, the Magnamalo, when purchasing this item. The Magnamalo amiibo will cost 2,000 yen or $25 through North American retailers and will release on March 26, 2021. You can also get it in the collector's edition of Monster Hunter Rise, which I don't know if it's sold out everywhere now, because last time I checked it was sold out. I pre-ordered it way back when it was first announced. And then the other 2 amiibo you can get, at least are exclusive to, in North America, I know the other 2 amiibo are exclusive to GameStop, I believe. I'm not sure about other places.
No idea.
No idea myself.
So good luck.
Amiibo, yeah. So, and I also believe those 2 amiibo are $10 each because they're the more regular size. I'm really excited for that.
It's cool.
I'm just going all in on Monster Hunter Rise when it comes out. Just all 3 amiibo. do an unboxing video, the works.
Dang.
I don't usually do that.
Better time than now.
Oh yeah, this is you. This is all the rest of you until later.
Is it all me? All right, it's my
For
show
a while.
Hooray!
Okay, so before we make it my show, though, how do you pronounce this name?
What name?
The author in this one.
Oh,
'Cause I know
sorry,
I'm gonna
I didn't
screw
even
this
put
up.
the article.
Oh, come
Whoops.
on now. It's
My bad.
Is it Kite Stenbuck or
Kite Stenbuck.
Kite
It's
Stenbuck?
That's what we've been. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just
Maybe we've been wrong. We've never
I
even
don't
thought
know.
about that.
I don't know. I'm the worst with pronunciations. Anytime I do like the developer interviews, there's half the time I always forget to ask, and I'm just like, "Can you just say your name? Because I'm gonna butcher it. Like, please, I don't want to. I don't want to screw up your name." But all right, let's jump into the actual articles. So Nintendo Switch and Animal Crossing dominated Japan's 2020 market. This is by Kite Stenbuck. So Famitsu has published a full year sales report of Japan's console gaming market in 2020. Although the year saw the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X launches, the console and game charts were unsurprisingly dominated by the Nintendo Switch and Animal Crossing New Horizons. After calculating the entire game sales for 52 weeks from December 30th, 2019 to December 27th, 2020, Famitsu found the total scale of Japan's 2020 gaming market at 367.38 billion yen. So that's a crazy amount. That's a 12.5 increase from 2019's 326.45 billion yen, which is also still a crazy number. The number was combined from the hardware console and software game market at 185.66 and 181.72 billion yen, respectively. It is worth noting that the portable Nintendo 3DS family was completely phased out in September 2020. Shipments of almost all PlayStation 4 models, including the PS4 Pro, but excluding only the black 500GB slim models, as the single remaining model had also ceased in Japan by September 2020. So they also list here the full chart for the game console sales in Japan were Nintendo Switch, including Lite, at 5,956,000. PlayStation 4, including Pro, was 647,000. PlayStation 5, 255,000. Nintendo 3DS, 62,000. I'm just gonna round them up a little bit. Xbox Series X, 31,000, which is interesting that you get to see here in Japan the actual numbers when usually they don't put those out in the States. And then Xbox One was 3,585. That is a big oof right there. But it makes sense. It's honestly surprising that even 31,000 is the amount in Japan, since they have such a low market in the East.
Bring it back. Come on, Japan. Make Xbox more popular so I can get my Blue Dragon remake or something.
Of course, you gotta have that Deep Purple song.
Yeah, exactly.
I made that song of the week one time in Axe of the Blood God.
It's so weird.
I think I described it as like a car crash, like glorious proportions.
That's awesome.
Just kind of gives up halfway, but it's so much fun.
That's an increasing amount though. The difference between Nintendo Switch being 5 million, almost 6 million, and then you look at PlayStation 5, 255,000, which granted much shorter time, but they also had the PlayStation 4, which was only 540,000. So people are gobbling that Switch up.
Oh, they absolutely are. I mean, heck, I love the Switch.
Let's move on to the next one, which is here are the most tweeted about video games of 2020. This is by just Sato over on Silicon Era. No last name.
Yeah, I don't know who Sato is, but just very interesting. Just Sato.
Just Sato. It's like Cher, the one name. 2020 was a big year for video games, and Twitter shared data to show what people talked about the most. From Animal Crossing, we already talked about that, to Genshin Impact, there were a lot of discussions about gaming that went on via the social network. To give you an idea of just how many people talked about gaming, there were over 2 billion tweets total during the year. That is a lot of tweets. Let's see. So here are the most tweeted about video games in 2020. Animal Crossing New Horizons. Who could have guessed that one?
Yeah.
Second one is Fate / Grand Order.
That's interesting.
That is surprising. Third, Disney Twisted Wonderland. I don't even know what that is.
I'm actually not surprised by that.
I
I'm
don't know
not
what
that
that
surprised
is.
by that one.
What is that one? Is that the mobile game?
So it's a mobile game that I believe is Japan exclusive. It is like it's almost like Disney's answer to Harry Potter in a way, where it's like a magical school, but all the different like teams that they have are based on Disney characters. Like they're not
like instead of Slytherin, it's like the Goofies.
Kind of, and it's like it's like their designs are like kind of based on that character. Like there's a house that's like Scar from Lion King, and the guys from that kind of have like cat ears.
Do you put on the Mickey Mouse ears hat from like?
I don't know the other details. I just know it's kind of like a weird magical school. I don't know if it's like a visual novel with like just like some mini games or what. But it reminded me of the other Disney game that was announced a while back, Disney Smash Stars. The one that was like
Disney Smash Stars sounds like a naughty game.
No, it was like a super anime game where these anime characters would play tennis and summon Disney characters.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Definitely much different than
or like a tennis-like game. It was so interesting.
That sounds weird.
Well, I gotta say, I would definitely love to be in the House of Goofies. But let's continue with the article. Yeah. So number 4 was Final Fantasy, which, I mean, that makes sense. There's a ton of games out there. And there were a lot this year, or last year. Fortnite as number 5, which honestly is surprising that it's halfway into the list. I feel like it should have been a little bit higher, but whatever. I guess younger kids don't care about tweeting out Fortnite. Number 6, Ensemble Stars. No idea what this is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
Number 7, Knives Out.
I had to look up what that was too, and I was like, I was like, the movie?
Yeah. Number 8, Genshin Impact. Number 9, Apex Legend, and then 10, Identity V.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what half of these are, and I'm also surprised Cyberpunk isn't on this list. But then I thought about it, and a lot of people who I know who like tweeted about Cyberpunk did not refer to Cyberpunk by name. So I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe that's why that kind of affected it sometimes.
Probably because if you tweet about it, you get the randos in your
So people
mentions.
were just like, like will vaguely mention it or censor it just so people aren't searching.
Right. I think it's also, I mean, we have to think about like the idea of time. Like these games, a lot of these ones are definitely games that you would play for quite a long period of time. With Cyberpunk, it's relatively like new, so to speak, at the tail end of 2020. And
a pretty short time if you go by everything that's happened. Yeah.
And like there was just an article I saw the other day that something where from Steam, the metrics, like a ton of people have dropped off. They have like so little player base now. So I'm not surprised, honestly. It seems like this was a very hot commodity for that like month or so, and then people just kind of were like, yeah, this sucks, I'll wait until it gets better. Or those other people who are just like, I'm not coming back at all.
Yeah.
I just forget about it completely.
Yeah, so I'm not too surprised that it's not there. There's some more to the article, but we'll leave it at that just to wrap up with time, and we'll move to the next one. Demon's Souls was Japan's most downloaded PS5 game in 2020. So this is over on Silicon Era. This is by Kite Stenbuck. And so we'll just jump into this. The Japanese PlayStation blog has published the top 10 digital download rankings on the PlayStation Store in 2020. Demon's Soul and Final Fantasy VII Remake were Japan's most downloaded games on the PlayStation 5 and 4, respectively. The Japanese rankings provide an interesting contrast to the North American and European charts listed on the English post. Demon's Souls only placed 5th in the Western PS5 charts. That's actually interesting to me. That there's such a disparity there. But okay, so which were instead topped by Call of Duty. I guess that makes sense. Black Ops Cold War. Yeah, never mind. I guess I should have just kept reading, right? Yeah. The top 2 PS4 games in Japan, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Ghost of Tsushima, could only make it into the 9th and 5th places on the American ranking. Ghost of Tsushima getting all the way up to 5th is still pretty crazy, though.
Yeah, I guess so. But I do know a lot of people who like the game, so.
But I feel like I mean, maybe I'm biased because I played Final Fantasy VII and I didn't play Ghost of Tsushima, but I feel like Final Fantasy VII would have been higher on that. But what do I know?
Yeah.
Okay, that being said, Japan did agree with the rest of the world on a couple of things, with Beat Saber being the most downloaded PlayStation VR game. I really got to try that one day.
Me too, but every time I try VR,
I am so worried about that, honestly, because
same.
I get severe motion sickness. It's just
even
not in
like
the cards.
ever since I hit a certain age, I've been trying to play go back to old FPS games, the old Duke Nukems, old Dooms, and things like that, and games like that. Even just those FPS shooters, because of the I guess it's the weird difference in frames. Maybe it's just because I'm used to having so many more frames per second, but the choppiness of it just makes me. I play an hour any game like that, and I'll instantly just want to puke. And so I'm like, if I'm that sensitive to just a 2D still game, there's no way I'm going to be able to play VR games.
Yeah, it can be difficult. I'm not excited about the VR future.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe they'll figure out a way to fix that or make it not as jarring.
I hope so.
But anyway, so most downloaded PlayStation VR game and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, the second most downloaded PlayStation 5 game across all regions. So congrats to Miles Morales.
He was also on the cover of Famitsu.
Aw, that's adorable. Good for him.
Erroll, do you want us to go through the PlayStation 5, the top 10 list as well, or should we move on to the next article?
We can move on.
Move on to the next
thing.
article. All right, sounds good. So this is an interesting one, and I'm really excited to talk about this. For some reason, there is a Pokemon 25th anniversary collaboration that will involve Katy Perry and McDonald's.
Well, the McDonald's thing, they've done Pokemon stuff before.
I mean, I can't think of a better combination than Katy Perry and McDonald's, though. But anyway, so on Siliconera by Jenny Latta, we have some news hints about some of the upcoming Pokemon 25th anniversary collaborations. To start, companies will have special merchandise or items to honor the occasion, with the Pokemon Company International confirming McDonald's and Levi's. Levi's? What are you, making Pokemon jeans? Will both be among the partners. Honestly, I would buy a pair of Pokemon jeans. But also, it's just very strange. So there will also be a P25 music Pokemon album with songs from artists like Katy Perry. There's only a vague hint at what her contribution could entail. A new video called 25 Years of Memories looks at different elements of the series via a Rube Goldberg machine. At the very end, we see a record start playing with a Pokemon and Katy Perry on it, and the only word we hear her sing is electric. I won't go too much more into the article. I would say definitely check this out and check out the video because it is really cool. I love these type of domino effect things. The Rube Goldberg machine.
The album be like how Pokemon the first movie?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That soundtrack with all the 90s artists.
I hope so.
That was a great soundtrack.
I used to love that CD. I really hope it is.
The music they had for the trailer is still boss.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what this is, more or less just because I'm excited to see what wackiness comes out of this. It's very strange, the combination. I mean, what do y'all think?
Oh, heck yes. I'm all down for Pokemon nostalgia with Katy Perry. Why the hell not?
Might as well.
I didn't see that Levi's part at first when I read this, but I am so down for some Pikachu ass jeans.
Get me some black jeans that you slap a little Umbreon on somewhere.
I know that Uniqlo, when they did their Pokemon line, it was really good.
Uniqlo was great.
I'm disappointed I didn't get a chance to buy the Gengar, but I bought the one of Ash and Pikachu. So I hope they have another line going on this year.
Very cool. All right, and with that, I am done with news articles.
Oh, okay. It's back to me. Speaking of Pokemon, new Pokemon Snap launches April 30th. This is by Saruman for Gamatsu once again. New Pokemon Snap will launch for Switch on April 30th for $59.99, the Pokemon Company announced. Also, have you seen this picture for it where it has two of the Sword and Shield starters, it has Scorbunny and Grookey, but it does not have Sobble. Instead, it has a Pichu with a little flower crown.
Take that, Sobble! Grookey gang!
I have a Scorbunny varsity sweater that I got from the Pokemon Center site when they had them. It's so comfy.
Oh, nice.
I wish it was like a Cyndaquil one because that's my favorite, but I'm like, they're whatever. It's close. Whatever. It's another fire type. I'm fine.
It's a Cinda.
Yeah. New Pokemon Snap presents a fun twist on the Pokemon adventure with enchanted gameplay that lets players see some of their favorite Pokemon in a different light, said Nintendo of America Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing Nick Chavez in a press release. This new game is a fun addition to the strong lineup of Pokemon titles available on Nintendo Switch, and we can't wait to see everyone's pictures when new Pokemon Snap launches on April 30th. And this new professor, who I believe is named Professor Mirror.
That's a weird name. Okay.
He's not grown up Todd Snap, unfortunately. Like a bunch of people thought.
Look, I don't care who that professor is, as long as they still do. You're close.
You're close. Welcome back. Over in the Lental region. I was looking at something and it looked like the professor still rates your photos pretty harshly.
Good.
Or not harshly necessarily, but not.
So you know, like blurry ass.
Yeah.
Like, this is trash.
It's like, it's not in the center of the frame perfectly. So.
Excuse me, Mr. Mona
Yeah.
Lisa.
It just kind of says stuff about. It's a long summary about just like, oh, you're throwing fruit at them again. You're not throwing apples this time. You're throwing something called fluff fruit.
That sounds fluffy, but looks like an
It's
apple.
like, super
maybe it's
excited
softer
about,
than an apple, so it just gets their attention, but it doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, it's a big.
No more whipping apples.
Yeah.
Someone called Pokemon PETA. You know what I'm really excited for?
What are that?
That fat Pikachu is back. Look at that chunky boy.
Wait, really? I
Oh,
didn't
that's
check.
right.
I didn't see that.
Look at in the picture of this. You can see one of those photos. There's big chunky Pikachu up there eating a fluff ball or whatever you said.
When he's in 3D, isn't that what he usually looks like?
No.
It's kind of weird because the 2D one got like thinner and thinner, but in 3D, I feel like,
I don't know. He looks.
I think it might
more,
just be the angle.
Maybe. Oh, got his bad angle.
He is eating.
That is true. Well, I hope he's chunky again because I want my big fat Pikachu riding a surfboard again.
So this game looks great. You know, everybody's like, why couldn't Sword and Shield have looked like this? And I'm like, I don't think that's how it works.
People got to chill on that.
No.
Like, I would have loved if it looked like that, but this is also a game where you're just taking pictures, so of course it's gonna look good.
Yeah.
And then there was this chart I saw on Twitter. I don't know the validity of it, but our buddy Jake Decker from GameSpot posted it, and it was like the highest grossing like franchises or children's franchises, I guess. I don't know. And first is Pokemon, second is Hello Kitty, third is Winnie the Pooh. Where is my Winnie the Pooh JRPG? And you can't say Kingdom Hearts because those are just mini games.
And those mini games are usually awful.
Give me that. We already know, like, Christopher Robin would be the final boss, like in that baseball game.
Oh, right. The Legend of Christopher Robin and his stupid bat. Yeah, that was a nightmare from the early aughts right there.
Yeah. May it rest in peace since Flash is gone now.
Merp.
Oh, God. So he's gone to baseball heaven.
Unless you
Undefeated.
downloaded that one, like, thing that preserved it. But yeah, otherwise, too bad. But yeah, it's Winnie the Pooh, then Mickey Mouse, which is weird. It's Mickey Mouse specifically. Then Star Wars, Onpon Man, which is a Japanese superhero who I believe is made of bread.
That sounds like something Japan that'd be a hit in Japan.
Disney Princess, Mario, Shonen Jump / Jump Comics, Harry Potter, and then the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Wow. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is rather low on this list. I don't know what exactly this list is. I think it's high. It's high. I don't know if it's highest grossing over a certain period of time or just of all time.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, because that seems funky. I don't know how
Because
Winnie
the
the Pooh...
MCU seems kind of low.
Yeah, I don't know how the Winnie Pooh is so damn much.
Maybe people are tired of it. The COVID didn't really give us a new MCU.
Yeah, I also don't
thing,
know
so
how
maybe
recent this graphic is.
Is it
Yeah.
like only
I'll have to ask Jake
2020
about
amount of money, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
But like, how is Winnie the Pooh getting that much money in 2020? What has he done?
Been a
guess.
meme.
Yeah, pretty much.
That meme money.
And then our last... Oh, oops. I accidentally went to a different page. Our last news story is about Metabots. Bet you weren't expecting that.
Metabots.
Imagineer pledges to fight for the Metabots trademark. This is by Kai Stenbuck for Silicon Arrow once again. Imagineer has released a statement regarding the dispute of the Metabots trademark in Europe. It plans to win back ownership of the trademark after another person claimed and used it to prevent the company from releasing games from the well-known franchise in the region. Wow.
That's some
The
drama
issue
right
began
there.
after Kevin Comadran de Frutos from Andorra claimed the Metabots trademark and at the EU Intellectual Property Office in 2018 after verifying that it had expired and been unused for a long time. Wanting to create his own video game with the trademark, Comadran filed a lawsuit against Imagineer and the Commercial Court of Alicante in Spain. The EU Trademark Court ruled in favor of Comadran and ordered Imagineer to refrain from marketing and publishing games with infringing trademark title in European Union on July 15, 2020. In the Japanese press release, Imagineer denied the trademark infringement claims made by Comadran. The company intends to assert that it is the original owner of the Metabots franchise. In addition to fighting against the claim, it also plans to demand that European trademark ownership be transferred to the company. If it fails, Imagineer would ask for the trademark to be removed altogether from the EU IPO. Imagineer recently released Metabots S for mobile devices and Metabots Classics Plus, a compilation of 8 Metabots games that appeared on systems like Game Boy and Game Boy Advance for Nintendo Switch in 2020. All of them are currently available only in Japan, although we did get like 2 Game Boy Advance ones. And
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've really thought that franchise was relevant.
it's still popular in Japan, apparently. Also, this is the same company that now owns the mythical legendary JRPG known as Kaiju. What is it? Telefang. I forgot what the whole full name was. Kaito Denju Telefang. The one that people think is bootleg or thought was a bootleg Pokemon, or was when they were like Pokemon Diamond and Jade.
Oh, yeah.
So they own that and Metabots, but I don't think anybody's going to try to steal Telefang anytime soon. So, all right. So main topic, we're going to interview our guest Nadia, which this is also kind of just a stealth premiere of our interview series that we're doing. That we decided to. So I'll break this out of the main podcast. We have a couple questions here, and Josh, if you want to add anything, you can.
Anything A.
Yeah. First is just a general question of like, what made you decide you wanted to write about games, and where/how did you get your start?
I kind of fell into it in the very early aughts. I had a bit of a weird young adulthood in which I didn't really finish college, so I just went online and effed about for a while, and eventually it came out that I was pretty okay at blogging. If you go to usgamer.net and read my farewell to the site, I kind of go pretty in-depth for the first time into how I got into games writing and why it happened. But the long and the short of it is, I think my first real breakout piece was on my blog. I kind of did a review / joking like look at a hentai manga about McDonald's and Mayor McCheese or Officer Big Mac. I can't remember who it was. But either way, people started to become a fan of my writing. And
is that still up?
No, it's long gone where it belongs.
In
the depths of the
garbage.
internet. Probably scattered into light particles. Point is, as I wrote, I eventually captured the attention of one Mr. Jeremy Parrish, who was opening or was part of the launch of OneUp.com back in the olden days. And he asked me, do you want to write an article for us? And we will give you money. And I'm like, wow, money. And I desperately needed money at that time. So I wrote a short article for OneUp about Mega Man. And from there, I just kept on getting freelance work from OneUp, from other sites that were opening up at the time. There was a really big boost around the time of the Wii when it came out
sense.
Because, everyone was investing their money into video game coverage because, oh my god, this is the hot new thing. Of course, it didn't last, and they didn't see the return on investment immediately, so a lot of sites were shut down. I've been through so many sites, I can't remember all of them, but the ones I do remember most, I was with Nerve.com, which was a lot of fun, a blog called 61 Frames Per Second. I was with About.com, I was their Nintendo DS guide, I really liked that job. I was with US Gamer full-time for 5 years until that ended quite recently, unfortunately.
I feel like it was so much longer than that, but that's just because that's what I know. That's where I know you from.
Yeah. Well, I think US Gamer, I was freelancing for a long time before then. So almost as long as the site wasn't available, but eventually I was taken on full-time, thankfully. And now I am independent with Kat, because when I was with US Gamer, we started the Act of the Blood God podcast. Sorry, we didn't start it, but I became a co-host. And surprisingly, I had never ever seen myself in any sort of voice work or radio work or anything of that sort, but we just really hit it off as a team. And our podcast gained a lot of popularity. So when US Gamer shut down, we said, well, you know what, let's try this independently. And
might as well.
Thankfully, it's going really well.
Yeah.
So we're really happy about things. And in the meantime, I'm doing some writing. I'm doing some game localization, which is really exciting for me. I'm doing some projects that I can't really speak about right now, but they're also very exciting for me. And hopefully, we're hoping that Blood God will have a website soon, and I can do some more writing there, because if I'm not forced to write, I kind of fall. I just fall back into playing PlayStation instead.
Oh, I feel I feel that.
So it's good for me to just exercise my strengths.
Yeah. Next question is, you cover a lot of JRPG stuff, as we've talked about throughout this podcast. But if you had to pick one, what is your all-time favorite JRPG?
Oh my god, you're gonna do that to me. Probably Final Fantasy VI.
6.
That was or it's 3. Whatever you want to call it.
No, I'm actually just at. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just like 6 or yeah. Okay, so 6.
Yeah, 6. Final Fantasy 6.
Okay.
That's my favorite. So that was the first RPG I really, really got in depth with since Dragon Quest. Because, of course, as you know, Dragon Quest, after the NES era, it faded out for a very long time. So I lost interest for a while. And then here comes Final Fantasy VI and Secret of Mana. Secret of Mana really got me back into RPGs. And then when I was really into that, I said, okay, I hear Final Fantasy VI is coming out. I'm like, oh, I got to get that. So I did. And it just... It really blew me away. I know it's not a perfect RPG. I know it has a lot of flaws. There you go. But the depth of the story, the depth of the characters, the depth of the storytelling, and just how much you could break the game if you wanted to. There is a piece on usgamer.com, or is it .net? God, I'm already forgetting. But the point is, I interviewed Ted Woolsey, the translator.
Right, I remember reading that.
And that was a really fascinating interview to have, because technically his writing indirectly inspired me to become a writer. So it was really nice to get to sit down with him. But yeah, I think 6 made such an impression on me that I can't really say it's not my favorite JRPG.
I'm surprised it wasn't you didn't say 4, because you had that good article from not that long ago about your experience with Final Fantasy 4. Well, it was Final Fantasy 4, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right, but that came after Final Fantasy 6, believe it or not.
Right, because
Yeah. To summarize that article, which I'm actually really surprised how well that went over. I wrote it completely on a whim because Kat said we need something about Final Fantasy IV today. No, she said we need something about the SNES today, and I said, here you go. And so to summarize, for people who haven't read it, again, it's on usgamer.net. And when I was 15, I had to have major jaw surgery, which involved breaking my jaw, moving it forward, and being wired up for a while and not being able to eat solid foods or anything.
Yeah.
And during that time, which was a very difficult surgery, Final Fantasy IV, I played for the first time, and even though I had played 6 by then, I really enjoyed how direct and straightforward and almost kind of cheesy 4 was by comparison, and it was a really big comfort to me, and so I appreciate it for that reason, if nothing else.
I forgot what... I have the questions here, and I'm like, how did I forget what I'm going to ask? It's right here in front of me. Okay, so Final Fantasy VI. If Final Fantasy VI is your favorite, do you have a least favorite JRPG? This might be a lot hard. I don't know.
You know what? Even though it's not the worst RPG in the world, I really hated Legend of Legaia. If you remember that for the PlayStation.
Is that the one that I think I was watching Kazuma Hashimoto's stream? Does that have something to do with like a demon baby or Satan or something?
Probably. No, it has to do with, it's actually, I think, inspired partially by The Mist by Stephen King, like 90% of video games. It was a game about, like, there was a mist covering the world, and there's monsters in it, and you have to find these Genesis trees to clear back the mist. And just, it was such a generic, such a PlayStation 1-ass era RPG, and I spent money on it, and I was just so mad at it and hating it, and just... It was so unbalanced. I think that's what frustrated me, and I hated the characters. And I just remember one infamous line where the real sort of cheerful girl stereotype character asked the main character what a pimp is, because that's where game translation was back in the day. Close second goes to Ni no Kuni 2.
Really?
Which I hate played for every second until I finished it. I don't know why I did that, but I did, and I'd probably do it again. I can't explain my fascination, my hateful fascination with that game. It's just there. I just hated the fact it wasted so much potential. Such a gorgeous looking game, and so boring.
I didn't like the skirmishes, but I did like the boss battles. That's kind of all I remember.
You know what,
of that one.
The boss system was fun. The boss battles were fun. I just hate the fact that you take a game what starts off with a nuclear bomb going off, and then the president of the United States, or wherever the hell it was,
the president of somewhere,
ends up as a JRPG hottie.
I don't know what was with that.
And instead of like, he meets this little kid with ears who starts screaming about how he's Prince so-and-so from Ding Dong Dell, and instead of this president like doing the normal human thing and like screaming his head off, and he goes to a mirror and is like, hey, I'm pretty hot. And the world just blew up on your watch, dude. Do you not care? You have a son and a wife. Do you not care? He didn't care. Spoiler.
This is my life now.
And I have not played the original Ni no Kuni.
Oh, it's great. I love it.
Which I hear is fantastic. But I do want to say I just like it on principle because it's just the Talisman in JRPG form. The Talisman being one of my favorite fantasy books ever by Stephen King, and Richard Bachman was his pen name. Peter Straub was the other writer on that book. And I wanted to actually interview someone from the team about why they did that and why the Talisman influenced Ni no Kuni so much, and actually did it influence Ni no Kuni. And I couldn't get a hold of anyone. Kind of mad about that. That's level 5 for you, right? Yeah, unfortunately, it's too bad. That would be I was just really curious. I thought it was such a neat link, because you don't see the Talisman reference very often.
I have never heard of it until this conversation.
It's literally a fantasy book about a kid who goes, his mother is sick. He flips into another world, meets everyone has like a twin character.
Yeah,
you know
that sounds like Ni no Kuni.
Basically what you get in Ni no Yeah. And he has to travel to find the cure for his mother, and curing his mother will heal the world, which is sick in itself. It's a really, really great little fantasy book if you ever want to pick it up.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out. And so next, moving on from level. Well, I guess I'm not technically moving on from level 5 because I did work on a couple Dragon Quest games because this is Dragon Quest questions.
They did.
And supposedly may work on a Dragon Quest 9 remake in the future, but who knows if that'll happen.
I'd like that.
Best or not best. I don't know. I put best and or favorite Dragon Quest, but I don't know if for you it's like different what you consider the best and what's your personal favorite.
That's a good question, because I have 3 that I like almost equally.
Oh,
so
this will be interesting, yeah.
maybe 4. I mean, I like Dragon Quest 3 for how much it did for the series and how it's still a good, solid RPG to play. 8 really revived the series. Really, it was actually the game that got me back into Dragon Quest because I was actually at a friend's house for the weekend and she had work to do and she said, "Hey, you want to play Dragon Quest? I have it on my PlayStation." I said, "Oh, sure, why not?" And I was just really impressed by the animation and the characters and the narration and how the localization was fantastic, which at the time you were still getting hit or miss on localizations. So with Dragon Quest 8, Dragon Quest 5, of course, is just incredible. And that's another one that was a big step for the series. Of course, I played that on the DS.
Yeah, because we didn't get Dragon Quest 5 until 2008, when Japan got it in 1992, before Pokemon. And I always have to point out, like, in my Mon Game articles, I'm like, look, everybody, Pokemon was not the first first series to do this.
No, it wasn't. 5 was all about collecting
If you
monsters.
look at like early Pokemon concept art, it actually looks reminiscent of Dragon Quest almost.
It kind of does. You're right about that. And all those agonizing hours trying to recruit a great dragon. Never did.
It's like random, isn't it? Like the system in 5 is.
It is. Yeah,
it's not great.
Like Pokemon, which does have a
but that's why they made Dragon Quest.
It's not like Pokemon, which does have a refined system. It's very random. The Great Dragon was not interested.
That's why they made the Monsters sub-series, which is also great.
Yeah, exactly. Which, to be fair, helped get, I think, the series back into the Western Eye.
Definitely.
I do appreciate it for that. I never played it much myself. I did play, actually, I played Joker 2. And
so
I
you said 3, 8,
3, 5, 8, and I'll say 11 as well, because 11 is just really good, and I think it was kind of like in the way Mario Odyssey is a realization of 64. I think that Dragon Quest 11 is a really good realization of of 8 in its.
Yes, I agree. I haven't played through all of 8 yet, but I can see how like it kind of evolved over time.
Yes, yeah.
I'm just so happy that so many people can play Dragon Quest 11S now since it's on everything. It's on Game Pass.
Yeah. The accessibility is so important, and I really hope that we get more fans out of it because we're always looking for more fans in the Dragon Quest space.
And then, so what of Dragon Quest? What would be your least favorite of them?
I have never liked 6.
Really?
I just have never been able to finish 6. It just does not interest me ever. I don't know what it is. I do like Carver. Carver's kind of cool.
6 interests me because of Terry, but that's because I played Dragon Quest Monsters. Was like the first Dragon Quest game I ever played.
Interesting.
So I played that. Then I get a Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior at the time, 1 and 2 for the Game Boy, and like I play it, and I'm like, wait, you don't get monsters in this? I don't want to play this.
Yeah.
And then,
womp. Sorry.
And then after playing Dragon Quest 11, I just decided now I'm going to collect all of the portable mainline Dragon Quest games. I still need 4. I still need Dragon Quest 4, but I have all the other ones. Well, 10 I don't count because that's Japan only.
Yeah. That's kind of a null. That's never coming to North America. Do you have Dragon Quest 3 or Dragon Warrior 3 for the Game Boy Color?
Because I heard that was the best version of that game.
That is a really good adaptation.
But I also have the Switch port as well, just because I wanted to support the localization when it came out. I was like, I want to support the release on Switch so they can release the other one so more people can play them.
Yeah. I do like 3. I think they did a good job on it. I think the monsters look neat, but I am disappointed they don't animate the way they did even on the Game Boy Color. They had such really good animations.
And Game Boy Advance was out by the time that the Game Boy Color one came out, I believe.
You're right. I never thought about that.
Because I look at like the art on the box and it said like also works with Game Boy Advance. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I'm looking at the box right now.
A couple
on the
games
Dragon
had
Quest,
that.
Shelf. Yeah, and I see that now. And it's a really good adaptation beyond maybe the Super Famicom adaptation, which we never got officially, unfortunately.
And then, so we already talked about your favorite Final Fantasy. What about your least favorite? And this is always an interesting topic that I see, because I'm not like a huge Final Fantasy fan. I'm still getting into it, so it's interesting to see all these different opinions on these.
Least favorite Final Fantasy? You know what? I've never liked the original very much.
That's fair.
It's here's the problem with me and the original Final Fantasy. I used to rent a lot of my RPGs because they were expensive. You couldn't really buy them that easily. I rented Dragon Quest III, and we all know that's an incredible game. Took it back to the store, whatever. Then I rented Final Fantasy, the original, and comparatively not as good. The battle system is so much slower. It's buggy as hell.
Oh yeah.
The translation is complete nonsense. Dragon Warrior games, even though they had such a small audience back in the day, had really great translations and localizations, really impressive work that put into them. And Final Fantasy didn't really have that. I found it a really unforgiving game. I just found it a little too janky for my liking. And to this day, I've tried to really get into it several times over, even with Dawn of Souls, a PSP version, iOS version. I just can't do it. It's just not really something that excites me.
That's one of the ones I feel like you don't hear about that much. I feel like the Final Fantasies you hear people talking about are 3 or later. Which is like,
you're right.
Oh,
I think if people are talking about the ones they hate, they usually bring up 2, not 4, actually 2. And I wouldn't say 2 is a great game, but at least it was interesting. It tried things.
They bring up 2, 8, and 13. I feel like.
Yeah. 13 I haven't played.
I have it, once again. Still need to...
So haven't played it, eh?
It was just after 7 Remake came out. People were writing about how, the battle system is kind of like an evolution of the Final Fantasy 13 one. And I'm like, maybe I'll like that one better.
13, I will say, has incredible music. Nothing wrong with the music.
The visuals still look great to me, too, honestly.
Oh, yeah, it still looks fantastic, but then they kind of forgot to build a game around it, so I hear. So I have heard defenders for it, though. I mean, I can't judge. I played the after years to the end. So.
And then next question: what is the most underrated JRPG in your opinion that you recommend more people play?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I always liked Breath of Fire 3, Breath of Fire in general. Although those are a bit of a bear because they are a little bit heavy with the encounters, a little bit wonky with the mechanics, but they're just so much fun. You get to turn into a dragon. What else do you need? I always had a real soft spot for the original Wild Arms.
I've wanted to check those out.
I always liked...
They seem so interesting.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't played the second or any of the ones following it, but the original it's such a mess because you have these really nice overworld sprites, then you have these awful polygon monster models.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, Games Done Quick did a run of that game. If you want to look that up, it was very recently. So you can get a look at what it's like. But man, it just has the most beautiful soundtrack. One of the most beautiful game soundtracks on the PlayStation, easily. I think it could beat out in Final Fantasy VII in some regards. So yeah, it's another example of not a great RPG, but you know what? If you're really into retro RPGs with a surprisingly dark story, you might like it. It's very Western.
I'm definitely thinking about checking those out. I've been trying to come up with a sci-fi JRPG story myself, because I feel like sci-fi JRPGs get more overlooked more often than the fantasy ones.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get into the Phantasy Star and Star Ocean games, because those are the ones I could think of. And yeah, Phantasy Star is another underrated series, I think. 4, I would have loved to see M2 give us a 4, guzzy it up and put it on the Switch, because 4 is fantastic, but it does have some problems that make it a little inaccessible to some people. So if they had fixed it and put it on the Switch, it would have been really great. I'm disappointed that didn't happen. And then one more underrated JRPG that we talked about on the podcast earlier. Monster Hunter Stories 1. Everybody should play that.
That's a yeah, I think so. I seem to remember something where you had to draw on the screen or something to attack the monsters, which I was like, okay, whatever, I can do without this. But the idea.
I remember drawing on the screen so much as like you had to press buttons like quickly at certain when.
Maybe I'm confusing it with Yokai Watch.
That's the touchscreen thing is Yokai Watch.
Okay, yeah.
Also
so,
underrated,
I
in my
definitely
opinion.
More
to be honest,
paper rock scissors thing. Yeah. So I am looking very much forward to Monster Hunter Stories too. I think it's gonna be really cute.
Now this is the next question. Would you say that's one of your most anticipated 2021 games, or what is your most anticipated 2021? I guess Japanese game, since we're.
Probably Final Fantasy 16.
You think that's gonna come out 2021?
They say it will, so maybe, yes, sure, okay. If not that, Breath of the Wild 2. Well, there you go.
I don't know if they're 2021, but
we have no guarantees here. Even the people who are guaranteeing the release date of their games. But I would say, I think there's a great chance of Final Fantasy 16 coming out this year because Yoshi P is not Nomura. He really adheres to his schedule. He knows how to get shit done. And being the huge Final Fantasy 14 stan that I am, and knowing how well they can write the story, and in fact, I hear the team for Heavensward is on this game. I'm really excited to see what they give us, because sometimes I say to people, "Oh, you gotta play Final Fantasy 14. The story's so good." Well, I don't like MMORPGs. Well, that's fair. I can't exactly tell you, like, you know what I mean. So, a single-player story from the Final Fantasy 14 team. Even though some people are not enthusiastic about the graphics or the gameplay, we've only seen one trailer.
Yeah,
but,
you know how people are.
Judging by that, I just want to say, look, well, me and all the other Final Fantasy 14 idiots out there, we're all like, you got to give it a chance. It's probably going to be
our buddy, I know our buddy Michael Hyam, who have been on the podcast before, is super excited for it as well.
Yeah, does he play 14?
He's a huge.
There you go.
14 fan. I know a number of huge 14 fans in the games media space.
Yeah, I was indoctrinated by Mike Williams, and a friend of mine, Victor Hunter, who knew that I have a weakness for Final Fantasy IV's Kain, and he's like, "Oh, you gotta meet Estienne, which is Kain 2.0." I'm like, I go play the game. I'm like, this asshole really is just Kain 2.0.
We didn't know. So me and my friends were playing together, and we didn't know that Alphino, I think that's how you pronounce the name. We didn't know that was how you pronounce his name until like Heavensward. Even though like we watched the cutscenes, I was just like, wait, that's how it's pronounced? And we would make fun of him, like we would pretend to like that we just hated him so much. Like we'd be like, go away, Alphino. Everyone
hated him, but then things happen at the end of the first experience.
Oh, he's alright.
First story that you're like, oh, poor guy. Okay, I kind of feel for you now. Here's some hot chocolate.
And then we have another question about Japanese games. What's some Japanese games you hope get localizations in the future? Because I was reading a US Gamer piece that had the staff talking about like localizations you'd like to see, and I thought that was a good question.
Geez, if I remember correctly, I think my response was Terranigma, even though it was localized, is not here. I would love to see Quintet's games just localized and put in a collection. I mean, they're already localized, but Illusion of Gaia can really use a relocalization. Yeah. That's such a great game, and I think it would really hit in this era when people are a lot more aware of social issues and social justice and so on. Because that was a game that really tackles that stuff, and it did not pull punches, even on the SNES. I'd love to see it come back into the spotlight. I mean, some people say, oh, it's boring to play, it's just a Zelda clone. Yeah, maybe it's not like the most exciting game to play, but the story was really fascinating. I just loved Quintet's stuff. It just never spoke down to you.
I had never heard of it before reading that, so that's pretty interesting.
You never played Illusion of Gaia or Terranigma?
Illusion of Gaia sounds familiar, like the name sounds familiar, but
Nintendo pushed it really hard for a while back in the day because back in the Super Nintendo era when people were like, hey, give us another Zelda. Okay, fine, here's your Zelda.
We have
it's
Zelda
not Zelda
at home.
That's the problem. we have Zelda at home. Here's Zelda at home. a game about a boy discovering the horrors of slavery.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It's a very heavy game. Like, it deals with things like actual slavery with human beings. It doesn't try to cheap out by substituting with like little koala bears or something. It's actually about human trafficking and slavery and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's,
that's
like I said, it doesn't talk
crazy
down to
to
you.
me. Like when I talk about, it reminds me of when I talk about like certain like shonen things and people write them off like it's too goofy because of this and that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you don't. There's like a lot more stuff going on in the background.
No,
like
exactly.
like
That's
I'm
pretty
a
much
big
it.
like One Piece fan, and people are like, oh, it's too goofy. It's not like serious. I'm like, no, there's stuff about slavery and the government and all this other stuff, like racism against fish people.
Damn fish people taking our fish jobs.
Yeah. So things are always, it's always fascinating when things are just like so much more than like, you know, we don't have to just like, we don't go to the store and just like look at a game's like cover art and be like, oh, this looks cool, like, you know, and
Yeah.
then it's like just judge it by the cover art, and then it just blows you away.
Yeah, which is good because Illusion of Gaia has like the most boring
Yeah.
cover art in history. It's just a picture of the planet or something. Japan
was
had
like
a
a-
really good box.
Yeah,
of
I
course.
remember. Maybe that's why I was like Illusion of Gaia, and I looked at the cover art, and I'm like, that looks kind of boring.
Yeah, it looked extremely boring, but it was a great game. I'd love to see it come back into the spotlight because I don't think it ever got a virtual console release. Terranigma has been available in Europe since the 90s, but in terms of virtual console or any sort of physical release or any sort of release in North America, not so much. So they're kind of linked story-wise, vaguely, and both are connected again vaguely to ActRaiser. So all three of those games on a card or something, I'd love.
Oh,
that.
they even made it look kind of like the Zelda font. You know, like, yeah.
Yeah,
They
You're right,
knew what
they
they were
did.
doing.
they did, and they pushed it very hard. I don't think it sold very well, which is a
You know,
shame because
They could just, if they do it again, they should just do the Kirby method and just put angry eyebrows on it.
put angry eyebrows on everything. Put angry eyebrows on the
Yeah.
globe. Picture of the globe.
And then oh, okay. I have two more questions, and then we can get to.
Of course.
What are some of your favorite experience from your career so far? You know, whether that be like articles you wrote, meeting like different, like certain dev interviews, or certain convention experiences, any of that kind of stuff.
I mentioned my Ted Woolsey
Yeah.
article. I still think I really enjoyed writing that. I did get to meet Yuji
Yeah,
Horii.
I'm so jealous of that.
That was amazing. What had happened was I went over to Japan to preview Dragon Quest XI, and not only did I sit there watching the game as they presented it to us in the boardroom, I really impressed the developers because I was pointing out all the references in the clip they were showing us. I was like, oh, that's the reference to Dragon Quest 2. Oh, I like that reference to Dragon Quest 3 or 8 or whatever. So they were really enthusiastic about the fact that this little Canadian girl was just sitting there yelling at the screen. So,
That's great.
and I got to meet Yuji Horii himself. His office was like this kind
Like
of
a
medieval
castle. I saw it in
style. Yeah.
There's like a documentary on YouTube that was translated now by Shmupulations, I believe, for the 30th
Probably,
anniversary.
yeah. So that's where
Yeah.
I was, and I actually got to hold a replica of Lodo's sword,
Wow, that's
which is really cool. And the blade. Here's a funny story: the blade for the sword has runes on it, right? And someone who was there at the interview was like, "What do the runes mean?" And Yuji Horii was just like, "I don't know." Apparently, Toriyama added them at some point. And was like,
only
okay.
he knows what it means.
I love Japanese game developers. They just when it comes to lore, they're just like, I don't know.
Yes, Toriyama. Maybe he doesn't know what it means either. I just felt like putting something. Like,
It looks
Yeah.
cool. That's the reason most of the time. It looks cool. I appreciate that very much. So
yeah.
getting to meet Yuji Horii was a big one. That was, and I also got to tell him how much Dragon Quest III in particular meant to me because I mentioned Ted Woolsey got me into writing, but so did Dragon Quest III. When I played the game, I wrote this really horrible novel that pulled a lot from Dragon
Wow.
Quest III, and it was awful. But I still have it. It's actually written in newsprint. It's just fading away practically. It's all in pencil. So he seemed to be kind of touched by that, which I think is really nice. I'm glad I got to tell him.
That's really cool. And then last question: what has the experience been like? I don't mean to bring up because it's kind of not a hard question, but just like I don't know how to say it, but like what has the experience been like going from like US Gamer to like going independent? Like, what has that experience been like?
You know what? I've been independent for so long that before I got into US Gamer, US Gamer was kind of an island for 5 years. Like, oh, cool, I don't have to do my own taxes, and that was like the best part of it. Oh, cool, I have benefits, I have dental. That was also really cool about it. But you know what? I'm not doing badly. Kat and I, the Patreon's been a huge success so far. That's part of it. And I've picked up a lot of independent work. That's another part of it. I think my body honestly likes independent work more than sitting 9 to 5 every day, because I have fibromyalgia. So sitting in one spot for a while, sitting in a spot for 9 to 5 every single day for 5 days a week,
not great.
It was getting a little rough on me. Yeah. But I do very much appreciate what Kat did with US Gamer. Like, we had a great site, and I'm just really sorry that it had to end that way.
We did we cited articles from it a lot.
Yeah, I wrote some of my best work there, and I'm proud of what I wrote. I'm proud of what we all wrote, and I'm hoping that I can continue writing really cool stuff for everyone in the future. I'm looking forward to hopefully writing semi-regularly about RPGs again. I think that'll be good for me. But I am, so far so good, knock on wood. I am not minding the independent life. I am, of course, coming from a place of massive privilege because I have healthcare from the government.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't have to worry so much about that. It was nice to have dental, don't get me wrong. I don't have any dental, but I got all my work done. So.
Like, oh, okay.
It's like, oh, got 2 root canals, screw you. I don't need your dental anymore. I'm just kidding, yes I do. But it is a big shame, because this is a hard industry to make a living in. I've been at it for so long, and it took me a long time to find my foothold, to get enough work to survive on for a very, very long time. I did part-time work in addition to writing. I am just kind of going with the flow. I've always been very good.
I'm always so surprised when people like go independent, and like I feel like so many people go independent, but then most of the time they end up getting a lot of support, and like that's great. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like I expect. I don't know how to phrase it. I just
maybe you expect people to be more cynical about it, like to. I think I know where you're coming from, even though it is hard to word.
Yeah.
I think part of it too is people are a lot more aware of how hard it is to be under a publisher, or be under a corporation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't have any major complaints about ReadPop. Like, I liked working under them. I liked going to PAX. I really liked going to PAX.
PAX is great. I've only been to one, but still.
I enjoyed traveling. Again, they gave us benefits. Like, a lot of people don't give benefits out. But it's still extremely hard to get even a mildly decent place to work full-time in this industry. And I think as it's so much more common to hear, oh, IGN laid off 50 people yesterday, they're not getting extra severance, they're not getting their health care anymore. So
I don't remember hearing anything like that, well, at least with IGN, but I remember, I know what you mean, other sites have...
Basically, people just lose their jobs.
The GameSpot layoffs a couple, like a month or so ago.
Exactly. Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was IGN. I think maybe I was thinking...
We've had a lot of guests here from GameSpot, so that one, we felt that one.
Oh, exactly. But the point is, people kind of know this is what happens now because of social media, because of people who they love to read saying, hey, I got laid off, I have nothing now. So even though the game community gets a lot of bad flack, sometimes for very, very good reasons, I think there are a lot more decent people who stand up and really try to help out the people that they enjoyed. And that's why I am so overwhelmed and appreciative that we have so much support for our Patreon already.
I feel like that's kind of why we made this podcast, because it's like, okay, well, we're still gonna write, but let's do this podcast, see who we can get, see how it goes, and it's really been a good experience so far. I mean, we're not like super huge or anything, but like,
it's pretty cool that I'm your first interview.
Yeah. I mean, we've like
surprised.
It's been weird, right? Because we've done kind of like half interviews in the past. Like when we had Callie Plaguey on, we were talking to her about like her career and stuff. But it was more like it was just kind of a back and forth about stuff that had happened. I think like recently at that point. That back in was it June? And she was just talking about her like her review experience and the and all that, and it was just not like, I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't like an interview the way this is.
Right, yeah. We actually had Callie on Axe of the Blood God. She reviewed Pokemon Sword and Shield with us, and that was a fun episode. If anyone wants to go back and listen to that.
That's what we had her on for the DLC. So, yeah.
Yeah, she's the Pokemon master.
Queen, as we call her here.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was the last question for the interview. So we'll I don't know who we're going to have next for the interviews, but now we'll get back to the main podcast to get back to listener questions. Josh, are you still here?
I am still here. I just didn't want to jump into it because I wanted you to have like a clean cut of the
He wanted me to...
I thought I put you to sleep.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, it was interesting. I mean, you know, I was more interested in the whole like going independent thing, because that's something that personally, like, I'm a person who does this on the side as like a passion project, like the video games, the reviews, the podcasts and stuff like that. And I am lucky enough to have a job doing, like I said, you know, the like video editing and audio editing and things like that. That's not part of the games industry, and I make, you know, a reasonable amount. I can live off of that, and it's one of those things where like, I'm lucky in that sense. So anytime I think about ever going like independent or trying to like, you know, let's make IndiePod big and just like go full circle into that, I'm always like, nah, I don't think I'd do that, because it's such a weird leap.
I think, one reason that I forgot to mention that I really did push to go completely independent is because I barely mentioned a couple hours ago, I think, that I used to be a dog groomer, or at least like an assistant dog groomer, and I've always loved working with animals. I love animals, I love dogs. I liked that job quite a bit, except for waking up early. I hated that part, but everything else I enjoyed. And I mentioned also my fibromyalgia, and that kind of started to attack me in my 30s. And I just can't do any sort of job anymore that's physical. So I had to give up that job, which made me pretty sad. And I don't even think right now I'd be capable of holding a job at retail or customer service or anything. I just can't be in that position for several hours a day. So I was kind of forced to sink or swim, and I said, okay, well, I really got to focus on my writing. I really got to focus on my portfolio. Thankfully, by that point, I had several contacts, and I just built those up and worked hard, and it worked out, thankfully.
Yeah, well, I'm happy for you. Congrats.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So moving on to listener questions. Our first one, we only have two, but they're kind of, I don't know if they're long questions. We'll see. This is from our boss over at Parallax, John. He likes to ask us questions from time to time. He says, Netflix is starting to really produce more anime shows, movies, etc., bringing that side of the nerddom to the mainstream. Do you see video games following suit in terms of really breaking into industry in a big AAA way? I mean, we're already seeing that with, like, they have all those Resident Evil things planned. They have the Witcher series. Well, I guess the Witcher was also books, but Henry Cavill is a big gamer.
Yeah.
And I mean, Grand Blue Fantasy, the anime is on there. I know that doesn't really count. That's not a Netflix production, but it's on there.
Right.
Well, I like how Netflix calls anything that looks vaguely dark anime now anyway, so I suppose it's moot. But yeah, I totally see that happening. The Witcher, even though it is based completely on the book, even though it's based mostly on the books, not completely by any means. Kat and I were just talking about episode 4 and how it starts, or partway through, has a Geralt in the bath, which is totally a game thing, like a meme. So Castlevania's a pretty good series.
Oh, right.
That's
Yeah,
another one
Castlevania.
that's really popular, and I think maybe Castlevania's popularity helped launch this whole stream of Netflix, other media, game media coming out. Detective Pikachu was a pretty big movie. Sonic surprisingly, was a pretty big movie.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, though.
Sonic's
like,
cute.
The question makes sense, I guess, because of like the anime part. But like, I feel like video games have just gotten bigger and bigger. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me because I'm biased and like in this world. But I feel like this is so much different. If you took like, just even 3 or 4 years ago into how people perceive video games. Like, look at what Animal Crossing did. Like, there's just people all over the world who are buying a
celebrities.
Switch.
It had its own talk show with the writer of one of the people who wrote Star Wars Rogue One. What?
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. Video games are getting bigger. They're much more mainstream. I mean, AOC streaming.
Among Us.
What was it? Among Us. That's a big freaking deal. So, yeah, they're absolutely getting bigger. And as we will see, there's more media coming out for it. Just make it better than Dragon's Dogma, which was a terrible
I heard
show.
that was so bad. Yeah, I wasn't.
It was so bad. It was laughably bad. I watched
That's so unfortunate.
it was quite unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm excited to see more video game anime stuff. Well, the good stuff.
Yeah. We
No
don't
more
need bad
Dragon's
stuff so
Dogma,
much. We're good. We're filled up on bad stuff. Thank you.
I mean, we already got live action movies still for that. I mean, the Monster Hunter movie, I haven't seen it yet, but
I heard that was awful,
I forgot that existed.
yeah, I don't blame you. And then our last question is from Will C, and he says, when I was a child, I came across a picture that I can never erase from my memory. It was a picture from Dragon Ball Cell with his tail deep inside Android 18, if you know what I mean. Do you have any pictures of anime you wish you had never seen at a young age? I don't have a picture. There was this commercial for Paranoia Agent that I saw when I was 11 that scared the crap out of me, and I don't know why. It's just that kid with the bat and the creepy smile creeped me out.
I love that show. I've got a story for this. When I was a kid, I started to I've never been a big anime person, like in general, but me and my friends.
Get out. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, no anime. Me and my friends in high school, we had this tradition where we'd go to the mall and we would find. We went to the Suncoast and we would find like a random, in the like for sale, like the cheap bin, and we'd find like random anime DVDs and we'd just be like, oh, let's pick it up and let's go watch it. Just because the internet didn't really exist. No. That part's not the bad part. Okay, so it gets even worse. So my mom was like, oh, okay, he's getting into this anime thing, whatever. So she's like, I'm going to do something special. And so what she did was she bought me this these sodas called Ramenes.
Oh, okay.
Right? Right? Those are fine. Now there was a series with the same name. And the series she also bought, and she's like, "We'll watch it and we'll drink the Ramene sodas." And I'm like, "I'm going into this blind. I'm going into this blind. I don't know anything about it." So I'm like, "Okay, Mom, sure." We sit there. There's sex scenes in this. And I shit you not, we literally went through like 3 of them before we were like, "All right, we kind of get what's gonna keep happening here. We gotta stop."
I like that you had to wait to make
How
sure.
old were you?
I mean, I was in high school. I had to be.
Okay. It could have been worse.
But nobody wants to watch a sex
Yeah,
scene
that's
with
true.
a mom.
100%. No.
I had to watch well, no, I didn't have to. So I have like a story like that. Like me and my friend went to see Superbad, and like we were 14, and this movie theater didn't usually care about like. They never really checked ID or anything. Mm-hmm. But this one time, there was just this one lady who my mom tried to sneak off to see Mr. Bean's Vacation or whatever. And she got caught, and she had to watch like half of Superbad with us. And that was awkward.
Oh.
Wasn't that kind of well, it was super bad, so I know where you're coming from.
I don't know, man. I think
I think these days it's not great. It's not a great movie in general, in my opinion. But back then, it was like I was a teenager. It was different, but.
Are either of you Doctor Who fans?
I think Jason is, but he's not here. Unfortunately.
He's not here. Are you at least familiar with kind of the intro and the song and the creepy ass? Okay, so here's a thing, a shared trauma across all children of Ontario. I'm not exaggerating. No. There's a station in Ontario called TV Ontario, and it's basically public access shows for kids, no commercials. And there used to be this really cute sort of preschooler show called Polka Dot Door, and you'd watch people play with puppets, and it was all very low budget, charming Canadian stuff. And it was literally meant for preschoolers. Okay, so this show would end, and the host would say, goodbye, see you next time, blah, 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 see the credits. And then the show would immediately segue into the time tunnel for Doctor Who, the scary-ass music and the lights and shit. And there was no commercial, no break, nothing. And this just scared the shit out of every kid who lived in Ontario. Because what a jarring experience. Why they had a show for little preschooler children versus Doctor Frickin' Who, which is not a bad show on its own, of course, but for some reason it was always big in Canada, and it was on TV Ontario, and they would just air it directly after this nice preschooler show about Polka Dot Door. So that scared the crap out of a bunch of kids. That, and what probably scared me a lot more, and this was, I don't know how old you guys are. How old are you guys?
30.
Okay.
27.
Erroll?
I was going to be like, I can't disclose that information.
Okay, well, I'll just say straight up, I'm 40. I remember vaguely the dregs of the Cold War. And I remember watching children's shows on the stations you would get from the States, just over the border. And these commercial breaks would dissolve into emergency broadcast system tests, which is basically a really stark, scary screen. You know, the EAS, basically what you guys have there now. The same idea, except it was basically testing to make sure you had communication lines open for nuclear bomb attacks. So even though it was less of a threat by the time I was a kid, it was still very much there. And the fact that you would be watching your funny cartoons and it would suddenly be interrupted by, this is a test, and like the really scary screen and the really scary sounds, that was an experience growing up.
Fun times.
I'm not gonna lie, I've seen some of those PSAs from up there in Canada. Pretty scary.
For some reason, we chose the scariest damn siren in the world. Like, it went off today for a virus warning, and that's the kind of thing that wakes you up now for some reason. But yeah, it's.
I just meant like the ones, the kids' PSAs with like the.
Oh, those.
Some of them are scary. Some of them are just weird. But a lot of PSAs here.
I know Nostalgia Critic made several of them famous.
The hippo
Have
one.
you ever seen the PSAs, the really horrible ones about workplace accidents?
Was that the one where the person slips and like,
Yes.
I've seen that one. That's, oof.
My sister-in-law, her mother was part of the workplace insurance WSIB, the workplace insurance board that covers workplace injuries in Ontario. So I saw her once with my brothers, and I said, were you responsible for those commercials? She said, yeah, I gave some, a little bit. What was wrong with you?
Why did you do that? How could you?
Why would you do that? Those were horrific. That and the robot, Astar, who gets his arm cut off. And he's like, I'm a robot. I can play, you have to play safely because I can put my arm back on. You can't. But Astar's pretty metal. Everyone likes Astar.
Yeah, I saw this 80s like PSA because somebody I know, they stream 80s retro commercials on like Wednesdays, and so there was one PSA about like being afraid of the dark or something, and I don't know what celebrity it was, but it's like, oh yeah, the dark isn't it, as long as you're in your room it's fine. And then there were these kids and these two kids, and one of them was like, were you really scared? And the other kid's like, oh Harold, you're way scarier like with the lights on or something. And it was like, oh. It's like, oh my god, that was brutal.
Good old fashioned childhood trauma. One I remember as a kid is they would show us, I remember when I was in like grade 1 or something, we went on a class trip, and in the bus everyone was acting like an asshole. The kids were wrestling on the floor doing WWE matches. So we got in a lot of trouble when we got back, and we were shown a "What Happens If You Don't Be Quiet on the Bus" video, which was as tender as all these Canadian PSAs, and it shows like what happens when a bus full of kids gets hit by a train.
Good God.
They didn't show real kids being thrown around, but they showed like dummies like hitting the windows and stuff like that. It was pretty intense, and I never acted like an asshole on a bus ever again.
The idea that anytime you act like an asshole, you're gonna get hit by a train is just so comical to me.
I'm trying to think of like
It's a pretty good warning.
the other anime stuff that like I thought that freaked me. Dead Man Wonderland actually kind of freaked me out the first
love
time I
that.
saw it, and that was way later. It was just like it was a
never
little
saw
too
that.
violent for me at the time, the first episode, and then later it was fine, and now it's like one of my favorite anime ever. But just because of the concept, because it's basically like this kid, he gets framed for murdering his entire class by this
Cool.
weird, mysterious, like, who I think he was called like the Red Man or something, and he's just like this smiling man with a helmet, and like, so he gets sent to a jail called Dead Man Wonderland, which is also like a theme park for some reason, and he has to participate in this competition called Carnival Corpse, where it's all these different inmates, and for whatever reason they all, because of this this accident that happened years prior, they all have these different weird blood manipulating powers. So it's just about that, and how like he's reuniting with his best friend from childhood, Shiro, who like disappeared, and the anime is unfortunately only 12 episodes, and the manga goes on for a lot longer, and
Yeah, it sounds pretty
Yeah.
but
cool.
yeah, it's
a
pretty
really
cool. But the
show.
first episode, I was like when I first saw it, I was like, whoa, no, nuh-uh.
That's all. I would think I want to watch that or look at the manga at
Yeah,
least.
for sure. I definitely recommend it to people. I really wish it would get the Brotherhood treatment, because it's missing, like, that 12 episode anime obviously is missing characters, it's missing arcs. It only implies a certain thing at the end, because they can't really do anything else with it. But yeah, that's that and the Paranoia Agent. I still need to watch Paranoia Agent. It's just that back then that kid with the bat freaked me out so much.
Bad coming from you.
But yeah, I think that's gonna be it. This went on a little longer, but it's fine.
I'm not the one
Yeah.
editing it.
Yeah, that's true.
And like, but I'm sure we'd love to have you on again. I know Jason would want to, because he's a huge Axe of the Blood God fan. He's really
Aw.
disappointed he couldn't come on, but he's still recovering from his wisdom teeth surgery. So hopefully next time you're on, he'll be available.
Yeah, sure. So I owe him an
Yeah.
episode.
And also, Josh, thank you for coming.
Of course.
You're
Yes, thank you. It's nice talking to
you're
you.
Both always welcome here. This has been Erroll. This has been Josh. This has been Nadia. It's so weird because Jason usually does this outro thing. Remember to be kind to each other. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Play games. Watch anime. Probably don't look for that Mayor McCheese thing.
No, please don't. It's gone. I
thought it was.
It's gone.
Wasn't it based on something else? The thing you wrote.
Oh, sorry. I think it was Officer Big Mac. Now that I think
I
about
don't.
it.
They both have burgers for heads. I don't know.
I'm sure they're both delicious.
Anyways, yeah. So from us, I'll see you next time. Matane.